side of this chamber. And we'll give you more instruction, but needless to say, there will be walking involved, not running, and we'll probably use the stairs as well, not the elevator. If for whatever reason you need accessibility assistance, please stay at your location and wait for one of our awesome security team members to come by and help you get to a safe place. I'd also like to highlight the fact that there is a defibrillator at the end of the hallway here, so if anyone's feeling chest pains, smells toast, or feels a little numb, I think in their left arm or arm in general, let us know, and we'll get that to you. Now, I do want to acknowledge that this council meeting is being held on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, and I do want to thank them for their generosity and their hospitality and the love and care they show this land that we get to live, work, and play on. I also want to acknowledge the incredible contributions of our team members across the city of Vancouver, whether you're working at City Hall, in engineering, Vancouver Fire and Rescue Services, VPD, just to name a few of the different departments, parking enforcement. These individuals are incredibly awesome. We've had the chance to work side by side with them over the last few years. Some councillors longer, and I can tell you we are super fortunate that people choose to work at the City of Vancouver, and they really care about making the city a way better place. So thank you. On that note, if we can please have a roll call.
Mayor Simon, the chair.
Present.
Councillor Kirby-Young. Councillor Dominato. Councillor Bly. Councillor Fry. Councillor Montague.
Present.
Councillor Klassen. Councillor Meisner.
Present.
Councillor Joe.
Present.
Councillor Orr. And Councillor Maloney. You have quorum, Mayor Sim.
Great, thank you very much. Now, it is a pleasure to begin today's council meeting with a proclamation for Emancipation Day. Emancipation Day, which is celebrated on August the 1st, marks the actual day in 1834 that the Slavery Abolition Act of 1933 came into effect across the British Empire, including Canada. On Emancipation Day, we reflect on the tremendous suffering inflicted on Black and African people and communities through slavery and the ongoing impact on these communities today. We celebrate their strength, resilience, and contributions. Without those who fought enslavement, our society would not be what it is today. So present today to receive the proclamation are members of the city's Community Advisory Committee for Anti-Black Racism and Cultural Redress, and we're grateful for their support and commitment. So if I can ask the councillors to join me. Is this working? Perfect. Now, before we read the proclamation, I do want to share a personal story as it relates to the Black and African community. And it's actually a personal story as well, one that many people share. We still have a lot of work to do. And so when my wife and I, we scraped up, we basically borrowed a down payment and then took a massive loan, which we thought was massive at the time, to buy our family home. We had 2 kids. We had worked really hard. We were super proud. And then our real estate agent, she was embarrassed. She was actually horrified. And she came up to us and she said, "Look, I'm at a loss for words, but I have to give this to you." And it was the deed to our property. And on that property, it said, "This property should not be transferred to Negroes or Orientals." And I think about that deed because there was a time where if the color of your skin was Black or you're Oriental, you were not you didn't have any rights in this city. And the fact that that is still on the deed to the property, it's completely ridiculous. That's a whole other conversation. But I do want to stress that we still have work to do as a society. And that's why it gives myself, and I'm sure everyone on this council, a lot of pleasure to be able to, read this proclamation today, because it really does hit home for a lot of people. So with that, I'm going to share this with my team members. I guess we'll start here again.
Sorry, I've mixed everything up. Emancipation Day. Whereas Black Canadians have been part of Canadian society for generations, and that between the 16th and 19th century, an estimated 12.5 million Africans were forcibly removed from their homes, separated from their families and communities, transported as slaves to the Americas, Europe, and the Caribbean.
And whereas people from African descent and other Black Canadians have recognized Emancipation Day since 1834, when the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833 came into effect. And in March 2021, when the government of Canada declared August 1st as Emancipation Day across Canada.
And whereas the City of Vancouver is committed to being the City of Reconciliation and acknowledges that it is located on the unceded ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations.
And whereas the city recognizes the historical relationship between Indigenous and Black communities and is dedicated to strengthening those relationships by listening and learning from their histories, stories, struggles, and triumphs.
And whereas the city's commitment to address anti-Black racism is rooted in the United Nations International Decade for People of African Descent, 2015 to 2024, the city acknowledges the historical and ongoing efforts of local Black and African diaspora communities to raise public awareness about the enduring impacts of slavery, erasure, and discrimination, as well as the importance of seeking redress.
And whereas the city acknowledges the existence of anti-Black racism within the city and its impact on city planning, operations, and services, both historically and currently, the city is committed to continuing to work with the Black and African diaspora communities to develop an anti-Black racism and cultural redress multi-year action plan, a reflection of the importance of this work.
And whereas the city celebrates Emancipation Day as a call to collective action against anti-Black racism and an opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to ending all forms of racism and discrimination.
Now, therefore, I, Ken Sim, the Mayor of the City of Vancouver, on behalf of all of our elected officials and everyone who chooses to work throughout the City of Vancouver every single day, do hereby proclaim August the 1st, 2025 as an Emancipation Day in the City of Vancouver. Now, Pete?
Sure. I just want to reflect on my own ancestry. From my mother's side is from Trinidad and Tobago, which is a country that our identity was forged by colonialism, indentured labor, and slavery. And the very first Emancipation Day declaration was actually from Trinidad, followed shortly by Jamaica. And of course, we saw most recently here in Canada declaring a National Emancipation Day recognition. And I just want to say that Emancipation Day is about acknowledging and reconciliation, but it's also about resilience and strength of community and how far community have come together and acknowledging this, but also the resiliency of the community. And so acknowledging that, and I do want to also acknowledge with gratitude, there was, in the last term, Vancouver began its Emancipation Day declaration thanks to then Councillor Jean Swanson, who was encouraged by a young man, a high school student of Chinese Canadian descent, who felt that this historic injustice needed to be reconciled and that we needed to have our own declaration of Emancipation Day. So it's a beautiful story, it's a beautiful thing, and really honored to celebrate this in August as an official city proclamation.
Did someone want to come up and say a few words or take a picture? It's back on. Oh. Hello. Sorry. We're gonna pull an audible here. Emmanuel, you wanted to say a few words? Would you care for a podium? No? Okay.
So I don't know how to do this. So based on walking around from downtown all the way to the south end and all the way to near UBC and as well up to Boundary Victoria area, right now the city is unmaintained and based on a lot of stuff written on the emblems of the property itself, it says that it's polluting, is to maintain the water clean. And right now, downtown is very dirty. It's being unmaintained. And when the people, I'm telling them, hey, you guys are ruining the city, it actually smells bad. And I'm not really like a articulate person, but I'll just say directly, it smells like shit. So I go up to them, I tell them, hey, you're the store owner, it smells like shit. You have to clean it up and make it look nice. And the reason you have to make it look nice is because there's families who bring their kids down all the way there. So at first I thought it was only downtown, but then I went all the way to the south by Victoria. And then Victoria went all the way on 49th, all the way to Kerrisdale. Kerrisdale is bad as well. It's very terrible. And then from there I went all the way south of Dunbar, near 4th Ave. Over there is bad as well. So the reason I'm here, I'm not really here for the emancipation, all this stuff. I tend to think that stuff is all emotional, brainy, blah, blah, blah. I'm more solution focused. And right now, based on the calculation right now, the city is already at 80% damaged. So if it was to carry on, I say I calculate about 10 years ahead. 10 years ahead with the way it is right now, the Pacific Central Station won't exist. And as well, not only that, the whole downtown actually won't exist. It will be underwater. And the whole reason for that is because the whole sewage system is actually unmaintained. And right now, with all the debris, and especially with the rat feces and all the rats running around, what is happening is as the rain falls, the streets are unmaintained, and because they are unmaintained, it's actually polluting everything around it. And what is happening right now, as you see the homeless people around, technically what is going to happen is going to continue to multiply. And not only that, right now, let's think about it like it's only a downtown, but has already pushed to Broadway. Broadway is going to push further south. So technically, as you all here, I'll just say directly, you all need to get out your feelings, your emotions. The past is the past. It's more about focusing about the future and the present moment. In the present moment, the city is shit. That's what I'm saying. It's very terrible. Not even as a joke. It is very, very bad. So, with all love and all respect, if you're all gathered here to talk about the past and how it affected, I'm here to just talk about the kids who exist right now, and that's it. So,
If it's about Emancipation Day, just because we have a lot.
Just want to say thank you on behalf of, I'm on the board of the Hogan's Alley Society. One of the board members had the chance to be here when we submitted our re-permitting application. I'm not speaking on behalf of community, but just wanted to say I appreciate this day. And to Emmanuel's point, appreciate all of the action that's going forward with the city in trying to find a way of commemorating the Black history that exists here in the Black community. And also what just makes me super excited is seeing all these other folks from other Black organizations, because everyone's doing incredible work. So just wanted to say lots of thanks and praise, and really keen on getting a lot of this work going forward.
We just started it, and absolutely.
My name is Neville Thomas. I'm president of BCOCA, that's British Columbia Organization of Caribbean Cultural Associations. Also a member of the anti-racism group that the city support. And I would like to say thank you very much to the city. This is my second or third year, the third year being part of that, and we do appreciate it. And we have had some struggles, but with your support, we are still here. And thank you very much.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Valerie D. Walker, one of the members of the committee and one of the real pushers of Emancipation Day. And I just want everybody to know this year, Emancipation Day, August 1st, is on a Friday. We're having a party, DJ, music, 268 Kiefer at some gallery, an art exhibition, and on Sunday, poets will be speaking about our experiences. So come and share. It's going to be free and it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you.
I just have 1 minute to say thank you for the city. We have been together with you. My name is Reverend Andrew Mutuma. I come from African Methodist Episcopal Church, Fountain Chapel, Vancouver. And we've been with you from 2015 to date. And I'm so glad that today we are marking this day as one team. But I will have a humble request as we go to the year to come. I would wish that the city also get more involved in Black Man's History celebrations so that we cannot just keep on calling, Mayor, can you come? No, we want to see the city being at the front line on this because you're talking about coming together, being as one team in everything, not in some issues, in every issue as a community. So for Black Man's History, we are so passionate that we want everybody to be part of us. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was great. Thank you.
All right, so we'll keep going. So the plan for today, any comments on agenda items can be sent to council using the web form on the city's website. The link to that form will be posted on X at Van City Clerk. I also want to note the City of Vancouver's longstanding commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, including the utmost respect for all genders. I remind council that when addressing speakers and the city's team members, we will avoid using gendered honorifics and will instead refer to the person by first and last name, role, or title. So today we have 3 administrative motions: in-camera motion, adoption of minutes, matters adopted on consent, 1 presentation, 2 communications, 3 reports, and 2 referral reports, noting report 2 was withdrawn at the request of our team members. We have 30 bylaws, notice of council member motions, new business, and inquiries and other matters. So the plan for today, we're going to break at noon for lunch, followed by the in-camera meeting, return at 3 p.m. to continue to deal with the remainder of the agenda. If needed, recess at 5 p.m. for a dinner break and reconvene at 6 p.m. to complete the agenda. So in camera, council is required to meet in camera later this week. The reasons and authority under the Vancouver Charter are listed in the updated agenda. Would someone like to move a motion to go into in camera later this week? Councillor Joe, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Dominato. Thank you. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great. The motion carries unanimously. Minutes 1 are from the Auditor General Committee meeting on July the 3rd, 2025. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Thank you very much. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Dominato, thank you. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great. The motion carries unanimously. Minutes 2 are from the council meeting on July the 8th, 2025. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Would someone like to move? Councillor Dominato, seconded by Councillor Montague, thank you very much. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Minutes 3 are from the public hearing on July the 8th, 2025. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Would someone like to move? Councillor Orr, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Klassen. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Minutes 4 are from the public hearing on July the 10th, 2025. Are there any corrections to the minutes? No. Councillor Kirby-Young, seconded by Councillor Meisner. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Minutes 5 are from the Special Council Business License Hearing meeting on July the 15th, 2025. Are there any corrections? Would someone like to move? Councillor Claassen, seconded by Councillor Orr. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Matters adopted on consent. Okay, council will now consider matters adopted on consent. We have communications 1 and 2, reports 3 and 4, and referral reports 1 and 2 on the consent agenda for council's consideration. Report 2 was withdrawn at the request of our team members, and we will hold report 1 to hear from speakers. Council may adopt the recommendations for communications 1 and 2, reports 3 and 4, and referral reports 1 and 2 on consent. Does any member want to hold any of the items for debate or questions to team members? Councillor Orr. So report 3 and referral report 1. Thank you very much. Anyone else? No? Okay. Now, before we consider the consent agenda, if anyone believes that they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anybody want to declare a conflict? All right, seeing none. So we have communications 1 and 2, report number 4, and referral report number 2 for the consent approval. Would someone like to move adoption of the recommendations? Great. Great. Councillor Meisner, I think Councillor Dominato, he seconded it. Great. Okay. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great. The motion carries unanimously. So we have the following, the following have been approved on consent. Communication number 1, change to council meeting schedule. Communication number 2, appointments of council liaisons to advisory committees, task force, and policy council. Report number 4, Auditor General Committee recommendations, transmitter report. And referral report number 2, miscellaneous amendments concerning various CD-1 bylaws. So now we have one presentation today, the 2025 Annual Climate Plan Update. Now we have team members here to present the item.
Morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Josh White, General Manager, Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability. And in introducing the Annual Climate Plan Update, I wanted to spend a moment briefly expressing why a sustainable city is crucial for all of us. The 10 warmest years on record occurred between 2015 and 2024. Notably, 2024 marked a historic milestone as the first year to exceed 1.5 degrees above the pre-industrial average. This is significant because scientists widely agree that 1.5 degrees represents a critical temperature threshold, beyond which the impacts of global warming become significantly more severe and widespread. We're already seeing these impacts globally and right here in Vancouver. The work Vancouver is doing to reduce local carbon pollution and to protect our infrastructure and residents from its impact is both important and urgent. At the same time, climate work presents a real opportunity to drive economic growth here and to support our goals around housing affordability. We've been working to strengthen these connections, and I think you'll see that show up quite strongly in today's presentation. And with that, I'll invite Brad Bedell, Director of Sustainability, to share more about this annual climate update, highlighting some achievements from this past year and offering a look at the important work ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Brad Bedell, Director of Sustainability, and I'm pleased to be here this morning to provide the annual climate update to you. We'll just pause for a moment as our slides are getting loaded up here. There we go. Thanks. Next slide, please. Before I dive in, I did want to first acknowledge that we are on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations, who have stewarded these lands for many thousands of years. We've recently had the opportunity as staff to engage with the nations on their climate work, and I'm excited to share that we're looking forward to working to learn more about their work, support their work, and also gather their input on ours is something we're really looking forward to. Next slide, please. So the purpose of today's presentation is to provide you with an update on our progress on the city's climate work, both our mitigation work, which is aimed at reducing carbon pollution across the city, and also our adaptation work, adapting to the climate impacts that we're seeing. It's an opportunity to share some of the successes over the past year, some highlights. It's also an opportunity to share this publicly through this presentation and on our website. Just a reminder that there is no decision before council today. The presentation is for information only. In terms of an overview of the presentation, I'll start by talking a little bit about the current economic context and the challenge that that presents to our climate work, but also the opportunities that we see in this moment. I'll then go through some highlights related to our climate adaptation strategy and our climate emergency action plan, briefly touch upon the dashboard, which you should all have a copy of in front of you, a brief look at the year ahead, and then close it and open it up for questions. Next slide, please. We'll go to the next one. So the threat of tariffs, the economic uncertainty is looming large. It is the headline of today that's hanging over residents and businesses. We're well aware of that, and that really led to staff's decision to not proceed with 5-year updates to our climate plans earlier this year. We chose instead to focus in this moment on implementing the actions that we have at hand and look for opportunities to bring forward actions that strengthen our local economy and support the affordability for residents and businesses. And that was shared in a memo back in March. Next slide, please. Climate action does provide an opportunity to keep costs down for today's residents, both through active transportation choices, the ability to walk, cycle, or take transit, as well as through our buildings work. A recent analysis showed that residents now pay $50 less on their utility bill than they did 20 years ago. It's also an opportunity to support our green economy. It's also an opportunity to avoid costs in the future if we don't adapt now, and I'll speak a bit more about that in the coming slides. Next slide, please. Earlier this year, the Vancouver Zero Emissions Innovation Center, a local nonprofit, started work on an analysis of the local green economy. We'll share that report later this year, but there's a couple of highlights that I did want to speak to here today. The first is that Vancouver's green economy sector has doubled over the last 10 years. There's 60,000 jobs in Vancouver in the green economy sector, and that's drawing from StatsCan data. What is a green economy job? I'll give a few examples. One would be builders and designers focused on high-performance buildings. Another example would be a local tech startup providing a tool for building owners to identify the most cost-effective building retrofits. We have a heat pump manufacturer now in Vancouver that didn't exist here just a few years ago. We have a recycling operator in the False Creek Flats that is in the process of bringing in 6 electric vehicle recycling trucks, which is really exciting. So that's a snapshot of what the green economy looks like. Another piece from this study that stood out to me is the BCIT Sustainable Leadership Program that launched in 2021, has more than doubled enrollment since then. And it's a testament to the city's green brand, drawing entrepreneurs to the city and drawing startups to the city to this day. Next slide, please. On the flip side, we're already seeing the impacts of climate change, and we're seeing the costs that it is imposing. A study done at the national level in the last couple of years found that every dollar invested in adaptation could return $13 to $15 in savings over time. We're in the process now of working with ICLEI Canada, along with a handful of other cities, to bring that costing to a local number for Vancouver. If we invest, how much do we save? But as an example, that image on the screen, of course, is the seawall. We have seen damage to the seawall, and it's an area that adaptation could serve us well over time in terms of protecting some of the land behind it. $40 billion of property and buildings at risk by 2100 due to sea level rise. Shifting gears now to talk about some of the highlights in our work, I'll start with our climate change adaptation strategy. Next slide, please. Last year was not the hottest year for Vancouver, but it was the hottest year globally, beating 2023. It was the hottest year in Canada. Here in Vancouver, thankfully, we did not have an extreme heat event in the summer, but we did still have some climate-related events. We had an atmospheric river in the fall. We had a bomb cyclone in the fall, and I didn't know these terms just 5 years ago, so these are becoming the new norm for us. We're also aware that events like this impact our more vulnerable communities the most, whether that be seniors, low-income families, or others. They are impacted more by these events. Next slide, please. Just a refresher that the climate change adaptation strategy, which was updated early last year, is part of the city's broader hazard and vulnerability risk assessment, HRVA. There are 5 climate-related hazards that we focus on in the adaptation strategy: extreme heat, poor air quality, which is focused on wildfire smoke, drought, extreme rainfall, and sea level rise. Next slide, please. I'll go through 4 highlights in our adaptation work. Before I do, I have to say there were many highlights, and it's a challenge to winnow it down to these ones, but these are the 4 that we'll go through today. The first one is a coastal hazard assessment that was done for Kitts Pool. It was done to assess how sea level rise and storm surges could impact Kitts Pool so that the design of it enables it to be resilient for decades to come, and that's being incorporated into the engagement and design process as we speak. The next one I wanted to speak to is one you might be familiar with. It's the St. George Rainway. This is a piece of green infrastructure shown in the photo here that performed exceptionally well last fall, essentially absorbing the water into the ground rather than funneling it all into pipes. A couple of highlights on this one. The cost of it was an order of magnitude less than upsizing pipes downstream. The second is it provides a tremendous biodiversity and park amenity to this neighborhood, and this is a sign of what you'll likely see across the city in the years ahead. The next one is related to extreme heat. The city and its community partners have really ramped up our efforts to address extreme heat. Last year, 1,200 cool kits and 270 air filter, do-it-yourself air filters were distributed to those who need them most. We hosted nearly 40 cooling centers, which is remarkable. That's grown tremendously over the last few years, and granted 5 retrofit programs through the Social Capital Grants program. The last highlight I wanted to speak to was Council's approval earlier this year to the strategic directions of the Healthy Waters Plan that will help invest wisely in rainwater. It provides an extreme rainfall benefit, but also, of course, cleaner receiving waters around the city. Also, the water management strategy went forward that will support better water conservation as we face more drought. Next slide, please. Something we're also showing this year is partner and collaboration wins. This work is not all of the cities to carry. We do a lot of our work through partnership and collaboration, so I'll speak to 4 examples here. The first one is a really great study that was done through a UBC Sustainability Scholar done in partnership with the Union Gospel Mission, and they looked at low-cost, low-barrier ways to bring cooling to some of those buildings in the downtown east side. We are hoping to pilot 1 or 2 of the solutions that came out of that, such as green roofs, in the year ahead. The next one is a kelp restoration project led by Tsleil-Waututh Nation, trying to restore the kelp beds that once were widespread in Burrard Inlet. The city's role in this is we provided access to some of the sites, we provided some funding, and we provided staff support. The connection with adaptation is kelp is not only a great biodiversity tool, it also helps attenuate some of the waves that we're facing. Next one, please. The next highlight speaks to leveraging other dollars, provincial dollars in this case, $215,000 from the province towards a study we're doing looking at which buildings in the city are most at risk to overheating and which of the occupants in that building are most at risk. Why are we doing this? It's to really start to focus and target our programs on those that need it most. And the last one I'll speak to is regarding the seedlings and young trees, 50,000 of them that were planted in Stanley Park in partnership with local First Nations as part of that looper moth infestation recovery work. The wood itself is also salvaged, all for cultural purposes. So it's a great example of reconciliation through our climate work, led through Park Board as well. Shifting gears now, I'll speak a little bit about the Climate Emergency Action Plan and the highlights that we've seen there over the past year. Next slide, please. So the graph on the left shows the sources of carbon emissions or greenhouse gas emissions across the city. The biggest source, 57%, is from burning natural gas to heat our buildings and for hot water in our buildings. The second big chunk, 38%, is from burning gas and diesel in our vehicles. And I would say this split is pretty common across big cities across Canada and the US, and it leads us to focus on those 2 sources with much of our climate mitigation work. On the right is the structure of the Climate Emergency Action Plan. Big moves 1 through 5 focus on enabling complete walkable neighborhoods, safe, reliable, active transportation through walking, cycling, and transit, as well as enabling more electric vehicle uptake. 4 and 5 are focused on building emissions, both the operating emissions, as well as what we call the embodied emissions. Embodied emissions are the emissions that come out of the materials within that building itself, the concrete, the steel as examples. A new item on this, you might notice, is the RE, the renewable energy across the bottom. It's not a big move, it doesn't have a target, but it's becoming increasingly important for our work, working with BC Hydro, working with others to ensure that there's access to renewable energy that's affordable and convenient to all residents. This is often the headline slide for our work. So this is where we're at in terms of carbon pollution compared to 2007. Emissions are down by 18%. We show this every year. I would say it's easy to gloss over this. I think it's really important to recognize this. This 18% has happened while the city has grown by 15%. We've added 80 to 90,000 new residents, while our emissions have gone down by 18%. Our economy has grown, the GDP has grown by 50%, while our emissions have gone down by 18%. This is a significant success, and it's worth recognizing that. I'll also call out that we have set a target for 2030 of cutting emissions by 50%. The best case scenario, according to our latest modeling, is a reduction of 40% if we implement the actions that we have on hand and the province continues to move ahead with Clean BC. I would say that's a best case estimate, but regardless, if we can continue to move that curve down and continue the momentum that we've had to date, we're going to have a significant reduction by 2030. 4 highlights to share here. The first one is to do with EV charging. Over the past year, we supported EV charging in rental buildings that enabled access to charging, home charging, for more than 800 households in Vancouver, households that would otherwise not have that access. And it also leveraged $700,000 in provincial and federal money. So a great success in terms of leveraging. The next one is kind of I think it's a neat project. It's a neighborhood energy utility under the Cambie Street Bridge. They did a huge upgrade over the last year that tripled the capacity of that plant's ability to take heat out of the sewer. So it takes 3 times more heat out of that sewer than it did previously, and that's thanks in part to a $10 million grant from the federal government. So it's a remarkable upgrade to that facility. The next one I'll speak to is higher standards for new buildings that came into effect in March. Our projection is that they're going to save 16,000 tons of carbon pollution by 2035. It's a big number. It translates to about 4,000 cars a year coming off the road, and it's been implemented smoothly and well to date. The last one I'll speak to is a little bit of a different one for a climate update, I think, but it's also a great example. I think it's the launch of the e-scooter, the Lime e-scooter system. There's been over 100,000 trips, over 20,000 unique users. It's another convenient way for folks to move around the city without burning gas or diesel. And a particularly great use of it is to access transit stations, either going to or coming from a transit station. We'll shift now to the partnership wins. We'll start with one also led through the Zero Emissions Innovation Center. This one takes a slight explanation. They launched a pilot program to support reduced embodied carbon in low-rise projects, so single-family homes, duplexes, multiplexes. More than 20 pilot projects were all aiming for 40% reductions. One of the interesting things that they have found is that the insulation choice makes a big difference. Choosing recycled paper insulation, which can be made in BC, has a much lower footprint than other forms of insulation. So it's a form of learning that can help us then target and support that work going forward. The next one is the transit funding agreement that was announced earlier this year that will enable continued transit work as well as some improvements to the transit system, which is critical to our Big Move 2 and climate work. The third one led through MST, so an example of reconciliation, the Jericho Lands ODP. It is a bit of a triple word score, so it's 3,000 more jobs, 24,000 more residents. It's near transit, which enables low carbon transportation, of course. It's also has leanings towards mass timber through the cultural design principles of that site. So it's a great example of embedding climate into a land use plan. The last one is our ongoing work with BC Hydro to do with service connections. This one's been a huge priority for us over the last year. Really happy to report that we are now shifting most connections to multiplexes to overhead. Why does that matter? Because it does not require a pad-mounted transformer. So that's a big shift from what we've done in the past. Most multiplexes now are going forward without that costly pad-mounted transformer. That work continues, and we're now looking at larger developments as well as to how to improve the service connection process with BC Hydro. One last example, we wanted to bring forward something that spoke to equity in our work. We often speak to equity in our work, but I thought an example would be helpful. This is the Moreland Kennedy House. It's a seniors housing complex in Kitsilano. I think it has 32 units that's about to go through a building retrofit. The retrofit will see a heat pump, better windows, better insulation. It's being done in partnership with the Nonprofit Housing Association along with other funders. Significant GHG reduction, 25% lower operating costs, and maybe most importantly for these seniors, cooling in the summer. So it's a great example of the connection between equity and climate. Next slide, please. I'll just briefly touch upon that dashboard that you have in front of you. It provides a whole lot more detail. If you want to dive into the indicators behind some of these numbers, it speaks to that. It's also something that we share publicly on our website as well. Next slide, please. Two changes that we're going to make to our reporting cycle next year. So next summer when we do this presentation, you'll see two elements that are different. One is we're going to bring forward city-controlled targets, stuff that focuses on what the city can do, and a little less emphasis on the broader targets that require not just city efforts, but other levels of government and private sector. The second piece that you're going to see is we are moving away from the red, yellow, green dashboard. It's something we've used for 5 years now. It's on track, somewhat off track, or very off track. We are moving away from that. Next year, you will simply see a graph for each of the targets that shows where we're trending on these targets, much like we did back in the Greenest City days. So look for those changes in the report next summer. So finally, just a quick look ahead at what you'll be seeing over the next year or so. Before I touch on a couple of the reports, just a reminder about how we go about our climate work. We do use this triangle. We do use a combination of regulation, investment, and advocacy. They work best when they're brought together. So investment in training programs, support programs, good infrastructure. Regulation can be a very cost-effective way to create change. And advocacy, and I would put partnership in with that as well. Moving now to what's coming. So over the next year or so, we've got roughly 14 reports or so. So the work continues. I'll speak to just one on each side here. I don't want to go through all of them, but maybe two connected on the adaptation side. The protection of tree bylaw is a great improvement to that bylaw that will be coming forward shortly, as well as the ecological land use plan, which is a great layer to the OCP that you'll see that embeds ecological planning more strongly in our planning framework. On the mitigation side, as you can see, a number of reports going forward there. The embodied carbon reduction is something that we are actively working on. It's the last piece of a new development project ensuring that they have a low embodied carbon footprint. So we are exploring different tools in terms of incentives and requirements to continue reducing that and aiming to bring that forward in the coming months. So to close, this is a quote from the IPCC: "The choices and actions implemented this decade will have impacts now and for thousands of years." We're putting this because I think it's helpful to look back at Vancouver 10 years ago or 20 years ago and see the remarkable changes in this city. Heat pumps are outselling gas furnaces. Electric vehicles are a quarter of our sales. The city has been transformed in just 20 years, and it's through incremental changes, annual reports like this. So with that, I think we'll stop there and open it up to questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And you do have questions, Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thanks. I have quite a few, so I'm going to try to fire through them pretty quick, but thanks for the update. On the one slide, you showed 40% on track for, I'm quoting, 40% reduction by 2050, the goal being 50%, but I saw the sort of small print that said best case scenario. So how likely are we to reach best case, and how are we really tracking? Because I feel like I'm wanting more data, more information.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So we are doing modeling right now to answer that question as to what we're on track for 2030. It's likely less than 40%, to be transparent about it. We're likely aiming for more of a 30 to 35% reduction. We have not done that work, so happy to share the outcomes of that, but that's what the modeling is suggesting at the moment.
Okay, and is that Is it, would you attribute that? I know this is probably a more fulsome question, but buildings, transportation, combination?
I think it's a bit of both. Like, I don't think it's a silver bullet. I think both have come down over time and both need to continue coming down as we move forward.
Okay. EV charging, with respects to sort of rolling that out, and I know we're making some strides, but I recall past discussions around potentially, is this something the city should do? Do we look at opportunities like, public-private partnerships? What are there ways to kind of expedite the capital rollout for that? Can you provide some commentary about what strategy we're pursuing and what our opportunities are?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit. Matt Horn, please jump up if I missed anything. So one piece, BC Hydro. We are working with BC Hydro to install 3 DC fast charging hubs. These would be sort of the Tesla style hubs where you've got 8, 10, 12 of the fast chargers. 3 locations across the city, no cost to the city. We just provide the parking lot space. We do have a license agreement now available for private individuals to license space in the street right-of-way. We are also now looking at going out with an RFQ or RFP to see if there are vendors that want to access street space for that sort of charging.
Okay, so we are doing an RFP. Is that more on a fulsome potential opportunity to do a more citywide rollout?
That would be on a more citywide rollout. I think the requirements for in buildings is also critically important for home charging.
Okay, and that RFP is going out shortly, you said?
That's the RFP for the EV charging this fall.
This fall, okay. Kids Pool, you mentioned that there's a hazard assessment and that's informing the current consultation. Obviously, beloved 137-meter pool, the largest saltwater outdoor swimming in North America. Can you describe a little bit what that would look like in terms of adaptation for replacement of the pool? Was it sort of specifically setback in terms of providing a buffer? Can we maintain the size of the pool? What does that actually mean for people?
It's definitely setbacks. Angela Daniluk, our lead on adaptation, might be able to provide a little bit more color to it if Angela is able to speak to that. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So there can be a range of adaptations. And so right now the project team is considering the different options that they will then bring forward to the public. It's likely that one of the options are to set the pool back because it is exposed to storm surge and king tide. And with sea level rise occurring over the lifespan of that asset, it will get worse in terms of actually physically damaging the site and the outfalls that are there.
Can we maintain the size of the pool?
That will be, I think, a factor of the pool design, its services, as well as, yes, responding to the adaptation needs. So a whole bunch of different.
Let me rephrase the question. Is our intention to try to retain the size of the pool as a guiding principle?
I'll have to get back to you on that as REFM and the Park Board are working on those designs, those preliminary designs right now, and they haven't completed them yet.
Okay, but in terms of looking at designs, I guess just this is a really important point given the recent aquatic center debate and knowing we're going into it. So are we saying like what in terms of a design brief or, in terms of goals around the design of the pool, is that stated as that is the desire to keep a pool of a similar size?
It's slightly outside of our lane. I would say from an adaptation perspective, we're looking at things like setbacks to ensure that sea level rise and coastal storm surge don't affect the pool and damage the pool as we've seen in the past. Our lane is not the length of the pool.
Okay, I'm going to be following up on that separately. I appreciate that. Zeke, Zero Emissions Innovation Center, I have the pleasure of sitting on that. You mentioned they've done some really interesting work in the embodied space and findings with insulation. How are we looking at communicating that information out to the building sector if there are opportunities there for different materials?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Zeke does a lot of communications through their distribution network. We also share some of their works through our Green City social media, but I think picking up on your question, we could probably do more of that because the intent of pilots, of course, is to normalize that learning and to share it widely. So we can certainly take that away.
Great, thank you so much.
We're at time, sir. Thank you. Councillor Klassen.
And thank you very much for the report and the update. Always great to get this. Just a couple of questions on our go-forward planning. I noticed in the dashboard that progress on walkable neighborhoods is rated unlikely. And so I'm just curious as to what the most impactful actions we can take now to accelerate the completion, to create complete communities.
Thank you, Councillor Klassen. We have made a lot of headway in that space, as you know, but I'll ask Neil Rishoy, Director of Community Planning, to speak.
Great. Thank you very much for the question. So the main limiting factor is just the pace of development and the geographic area of the city where we will need to add more homes around transit and daily needs. And so there's only such a pace that industry can build that housing around those services. So that's the main limiting factor.
Are there a group of particular neighborhoods that come to mind when you talk about where we need more work to be done on walkability?
Absolutely. You know, the areas generally south of 16th, as a general rule, that's a high generalization, generally have lower walkability mode shares than the areas north of 16th. And so that's the reason why you see so much of the new area planning happening south of 16th to address that opportunity.
Okay, thanks very much. Just looking at about emissions reductions for space on water heating in older buildings, that's sort of a stubborn area for us because retrofits would be required. Are there any thoughts about incentivizing and finding ways that we can get more retrofitting and more updates to buildings to reduce those emissions?
Thank you for the question. It is a stubborn area. Older buildings are difficult to retrofit. They're just set up not easily to transition to a heat pump. BC Hydro has offered incentives in the past, but they've gone to income tested away from the detached home and more towards the rental stock. So I think it's a fair suggestion, Councillor Klassen. We would have to take it away as far as what could be done on that piece.
Okay, thanks very much. And I just want to talk about rainwater infrastructure. I know that the St. George what is it called? The Rainwater Greenway? I can't recall, but I go by it constantly and I think it's fantastic, and it's watching it finally have the wraps taken off of it. That is a fairly unique project in terms of the city, but it would seem to me that other neighborhoods could potentially benefit from something similar. How are we sort of mapping out a more equitable distribution of those kinds of projects?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Angela Stewart may be able to help me with this one. I know the intent is to essentially cookie cutter that across the city now that that one works well. But Angela, do you want to speak to the plans for green infrastructure deployment?
Hi there. Yeah, this is Angela Stewart, Integrated Sewer and Drainage Planning. Currently, we are looking at a number of different factors when we place our green infrastructure, but equity, as well as other factors such as heat island effect and how that can affect different social groups differently as well. Those are definitely factors that we look into. And as to ongoing work for that, we would have to report back to let you know exactly more about those details.
Okay. I know it was a costly sort of first step in some ways because there's a lot of work that had to be done in terms of construction of the road surface and what have you. Thanks very much on that question. I just kind of have a broader question, given the number of SEEP and CCAS actions that are currently underway. How confident are staff that implementation timelines will be met without additional resourcing or council intervention?
I think we're confident that we have the resources at the moment to move ahead with the actions. I think the challenge that we're trying to do now is balance that pace of change with the pace of change that is acceptable and feasible in the market. So that's always the tension, particularly in the building space. When we bring forward a regulation or requirement, we want to be confident that the supply chain, the contractors and whatnot can deliver on it. So I would say that's the bigger tension of how quickly can this move ahead with that practicality in mind.
Okay, thanks very much, Brad. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Joe?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Also, thanks, Brad and the team for the presentation and all the works behind. I think you mentioned that 2015 to 2024 was the warmest decade due to climate change in the history of Vancouver. So this is probably related to the one of the topic on the agenda tomorrow. But we have more shadow, especially in the high traffic area, high pedestrian area, is better?
Having more shadow, is it better?
Yeah. How do we balance this urban design and also the livability for the pedestrians on the street?
I mean, I guess there is an argument to say if you're in the shadow, you're protected from solar overheating. So that's a fair comment. We are certainly looking at other ways with trees and even other forms of shading to help address that issue. But I think it's a fair comment. We've never done any analysis on how shading from buildings could reduce the temperature on urban heat islands. So I can't definitively give you a great answer on that piece.
So was that a consideration when we, have this policy, the shadowing policy. Maybe that's something we should consider in the future.
Yeah, I believe it's coming up, and that's a conversation to be had at that point, but I don't have the data to, oh, sorry, Ian, go ahead.
Oh, great. Just a quick response to that. And so the heat island effect is really caused by absorption by concrete and built structures. And so the best way to reduce the heat island effect is to increase the amount of vegetation and permeable surfaces. And so generally as the taller buildings, as their shadows move across the city, it's a swift-moving shadow, while something like a street tree provides a consistent level of shade and is very effective in reducing the heat island effect.
Okay, thanks. Other questions, how do we incentivize like the green roof and other innovative idea yeah.
Yeah, so we don't currently incentivize green roofs. We certainly encourage them. We are seeing green roofs on a high percentage of new development applications. That's in part to meet the city's VBBL requirements for stormwater runoff. Green roofs are a good tool to do it. A lot of developers also see it as an amenity to the building. If they have any space up there, a green roof is seen as an amenity. So we are seeing, I think it's over 50% of Part 3 applications having some form of a green roof going forward.
Okay, if the incentivization could be one of the consideration in the future?
It could be a council consideration. Anytime we incentivize, there's a cost to it, so we try to balance that question.
Sure, okay. Other questions, I remember, we have this a grant program to support heat pump installation, and I think it's oversubscribed. Is there any plan we can bring that program back? I saw there's a lot of interest from the community, but there's no.
Yeah, so similar question to Councillor Klass, and I think it's something we can take away. I would say the provincial incentives have moved away from single-family heat pump incentives, and we too, as a city, we've shifted more to supporting rental, affordable, multifamily retrofits. But Councillor Joe, we can definitely take that away for consideration.
Thank you. Other question about EV chargers. So I know some private company, they were trying to provide free EV charging stations and also, generate some revenue opportunities using advertisement. But it was actually, there's some concerns with our street furniture contract. So how do we allow those creative ideas from the private industry to support our initiative, also, support our climate change initiative? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is when we do an RFP this fall, it will be seeking private bids on street space through a license agreement. I'll say the market seems to be changing from a space where they wanted to put essentially giant billboards on the chargers for the free charging to a space where we think the market will be more competitive and might not need the giant billboard to go with it. So we'll see what comes through in that fall RFP.
Okay, so is that RFP allow those type of collaboration because of the street furniture contract? There's some also legal concern there as well. So
yeah,
solve this. Yeah,
I think we're still quite limited in terms of the advertisement that could be put on an EV charger. But our sense is that the market, given what's happening in other cities right now, might be sufficient just for them to put out charging in the public space and charge for that charging without the giant billboard.
Okay, thanks. My last question is, I just want to clarify, I think for the multiplex missing middle, the applicant need to upgrade the transformer, which I think costs over $125,000 from BC Hydro. Did you mention that that requirement is no longer needed?
So this is something we're really excited about. Matt, I think you'd be better to speak to this, the transition that we've had with BC Hydro over the last year.
Okay, great.
Matt Horn is our manager of climate mitigation.
Thanks for the question. Matt Horn, Manager of Climate Mitigation. So yeah, the first sort of phase of multiplexes we saw come through, only about 40% of those were serviced overhead. We're now up to 70% being serviced overhead. So that's a 30% jump. And those, if they're being serviced overhead, they don't need a pad-mounted transformer. So it's a savings in cost. It's also a savings in staff time because the city staff don't really need to be involved. And it's a saving in process time. So it's a simpler project for the builder to work through with BC Hydro.
So 70% of all the multiplex applicants, they don't need to.
And sorry, Councillor, we're at time.
Yeah, is that right? Yes or no?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Councillor Dominato?
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Zhou, did you want that question finished?
Yeah,
or
I got the answer.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the update. I think this is an important issue, and there's a lot of interest across the region, and many cities are trying to undertake similar work. I just have a couple of questions just to clarify, just with your slide around our success in cutting carbon pollution, 18% reduction since 2007 and on track to 40% by 2030. Can you speak to the how that breaks down, that 18% in terms of, is that more attributable to buildings or more attributable to vehicles on the road, or is it a mix? Like,
Yeah,
are we able to kind of determine?
I think we have those numbers. Matt, can you speak to that one?
Yeah, we can, the numbers are in the dashboard specifically. In general, it is a mix. So transportation down slightly, a slightly more significant decline in buildings. We haven't talked about it much, but the landfill gas from our own landfill is part of that reduction as well. They've had fairly significant strides reducing emissions from the landfill.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. But otherwise you would say, you can't say it's like out of the 18%, it's like 10% or 15% is buildings and, we can't.
Yeah, we can, as a follow-up, provide the specific numbers. But yeah, there is a mix of progress being made there.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you. I'm curious, two more questions I just want to ask. One, you highlighted the new stormwater management and the success of the St. George Rainway, sorry. And I'm curious, I seem to recall that we're integrating more of that as part of our wastewater management systems, and because replacement of pipes takes time, it's quite costly. So can you just speak to what that might look like in the future for the city as we sort of advance that work?
Yeah, I can speak, and then Angela, as you're making your way up, I would say it's transformative in terms of what the shift is from the city of just building bigger pipes to using that green infrastructure to get water into the ground rather than sending it out to treatment. Angela, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All of our planning that we do, we consider multiple options for our sewer and drainage services. And so green infrastructure is one of those tools that we do use. It provides a number of benefits, including mitigating flooding and reducing CSOs. And so it is something that we're very committed to, and all of our plans take that into consideration as one of our primary options because of the multiple benefits that we do get from the green surface expressions.
It sounds like we'll see more of that in the future, and I think we just approved the Rupert Renfrew area plan. I think is contemplated there as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's a key component. Rupert Renfrew plan also has the focus on Still Creek as well, so that's very important too.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Just with my last bit of time, I do want to ask around the use of solar panels to add either for to support people's individual household energy needs, as well as feeding into the grid. And I'm curious what kind of uptake we've had in the city of adding solar panels to utilize that energy and to store it. And I just as an anecdotally, I noticed my neighbors just added solar panels to their garage, their car garage. And so I'm curious about that uptake, and also what kind of guidance we provide as a city for homeowners or property owners around that work.
Thank you, Councillor Domino. We owe that question through the council Q&A email, but we have several hundred houses in buildings in Vancouver right now that are using solar panels. It's a mix of detached homes and bigger buildings, some non-residential as well. Still a relatively small portion, but we are seeing more uptake in that space. The city's biggest action in the space has been enabling it. I would say 5 or 10 years ago, we were quite restrictive about how and where you could put solar panels on your roof, largely from an aesthetic perspective. That has all been wiped away, and I would say the process to install panels now is quite streamlined. So that's been the role that we've played to date. We know that BC Hydro also came up with new rebates that should, or incentives that should drive more uptake as well.
Yeah, I noted that as well. Thanks for flagging that, the incentives. And so it sounds like we've made more space, and we're making it easier for property owners to undertake that work and to add solar panels if they wish.
Correct. And we'll share the specific numbers as a follow-up on that.
Fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks again for the presentation.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Fry.
Yeah, so on that subject of solar panels and similarly channeling issues of interest from my erstwhile colleague, former Councillor Carr, the solar panels and green roofs, where I know that the implementation of the green roof strategy has been somewhat slow. Where are things at with green roofs as a cooling and rainwater management system?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Fry. It's a great question. I mean, to date, we have seen that green roofs and solar panels can work quite well together. They are not mutually exclusive. They can actually fit well together on the roof. We haven't provided any incentives to date for that. They may be coming through the development process naturally by virtue of us providing the conditions that enable it, but that's, I would say the status at the moment is enabling, not incentivizing.
Okay, that's good to know. On the subject of the pad-mounted transformers. So if I caught what Matt was saying correctly, it's been, because this was a point of advocacy from the previous council to UBCM asking for some kind of resolution around pad-mounted transformers. Is my understanding correct in that it's been facilitated by reintroducing overhead lines, but are we at the same time removing overhead lines through the removing the H-frames and stuff like that?
Different. So the removal of the H-frames in the alleys of downtown, quite different than a overhead service to a multiplex in an R11 zone. So those two things I would say are happening at the same time, and they're not necessarily in conflict. And one bit I would add to it is the enabling of overhead is one solution. We're also looking at ways to use load management to avoid triggering these pad-mounted transformers. We just had a really neat one down in Kids Point where they have a sixplex, an existing sixplex that use load management to stay with a 200 amp connection. And it's a lot of jargon, but they were able to stay with essentially a detached homes service connection by virtue of load management.
Interesting, using new technology for load management.
Correct, correct.
Where are we at on some of the, we had an interesting some of us had an interesting presentation on district energy, possibly for the west end of Vancouver, and tapping into existing hydronic heat systems, so the old school radiators, that kind of thing, and using, and because I know that that's one of the challenges to date with heat pumps, rigging them up for hydronic systems, and I know electric boilers are coming online more rapidly. Where are we at with district energy systems as a possible solution for GHG reduction?
Yeah, so two pieces to that. There are district energy systems happening across the city, as you well know, River District being one that's tapping into the Burnaby incinerator. We have our own, and the one that the city runs, the NEU, is also looking at other sources of energy for that network. Data centers are one that are popping up for us now as a potential source. Your question, though, I think is around something like the West End, a dense area that could benefit from district energy. We are at step one of trying to explore the feasibility of that, and if it's viable, who would take on such a thing, who would lead such a piece of work. But that's at the absolute starting point of it, of is it more efficient to do that rather than trying to retrofit a lot of tall buildings down there.
And are we seeing significant advancements in electric boiler systems to decarbonize existing hydronic systems and older apartment buildings, that kind of thing?
It does exist for sure, and it's not necessarily always a fuel switch first for those buildings. There are other efficiency gains that would happen before the fuel switch. But the short answer is I think the equipment does exist and is starting to become more mainstreamed for those buildings. And we're certainly seeing it on bigger commercial buildings. They're making those retrofits using that sort of equipment.
Okay. Totally switching gears to the warm summer weather, delightful day to go to the beach. But of course, as we've been hearing, there's been increased E. coli loads in all the Vancouver beaches. And this happens every year, obviously, but it seems to be more frequent. Is this can this be directly attributed to CSOs?
I'm going to put Angela on the hot spot again for that one. Thank you.
Sorry.
Hello. The reasons for the E. coli are very complex, and so combined sewer overflows do definitely contribute to it, but there are other factors with the boating and the geese and all sorts of things. But the combined sewer overflows are definitely a component, and we're working to reduce those combined sewer overflows.
So when you identify E. coli, it's not, and I realize it's not you identifying it, but generally when they identify E. coli, it's not attributing it to a source, avian or human or otherwise.
I can't speak to the level of testing that is done. There is testing that is possible to differentiate between the sources of the E. coli, but I don't know that that's done on a regular basis or not. We can look at the timing of like rainfall versus E. coli warnings, and there often aren't active CSOs around the time that the beach closures happen.
I'm sorry, we're at time, but hopefully Councillor Orr will continue that. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, and so there's not often a correlation from direct CSOs and then the timing of the E. coli, but the CSOs throughout the year can contribute conditions that allow during warm weather for the E. coli to basically bloom. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask a question related to that. I got a tour from Falls Creek Friends Society the other day, and they were talking about many different things. That was one of them, the combined sewage. But in a more general sort of abstract way, I was going to ask this in an inquiry, so it's asking it now. They pointed to like Port Moody just now doing like the first marine urban protected area. And how to do that here. And I know there's like a mix of jurisdictions and who owns it, federal, is it does the provincial government own the seabed and all that? So my question is, and this you can get back to me, that might be convoluted. What is the legal jurisdiction over False Creek, and how does the city ensure safe and green usage?
Counselor, we're going to have to get back to you on
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
The
for
legal
sure.
jurisdiction over False Creek is very complicated,
Yeah.
but we'll have to get back with
Yeah.
the proper response on
I
that.
appreciate that. I totally understand that. Yeah, I'd love for you to follow up on that. Secondly, food systems, is that a part of mitigation, adaptation?
Food systems are not part of adaptation or mitigation. Certainly part of environmental sustainability. They were part of the Greenest City, but the short answer is they are not part of the two strategies before council today.
Okay, thank you. And then for the shifting gears again, for the projected best case and 40%, noting that 50% of our emissions are natural gas, does the best case include council's decision recently to reintroduce natural gas in new builds?
To clarify, the direction from council late last year was to continue moving along the step code pathway to kind of generalize that direction. That is leading to 16,000 tons of emissions savings on that decision alone, 4,000 cars coming off the road to that. So that's part of what is taking us to the target or to that outcome by 2030. So
most of it is from taking cars off the road. Did I hear you?
sorry to clarify, that is the buildings direction from late last year. That will take 16,000 tons of GHGs out of the system by 2035. It's equivalent to 4,000 cars. Just
So would it be, we would get to our projected best case would be better if we didn't have natural gas in new builds? Would that be accurate?
We are at a place where the natural gas going into new builds is for cooking, the occasional fireplace, and on large buildings for peaking during cold weather days, which makes a lot of sense. So I would say a lot of the natural gas is not going into new builds.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. Councillor Montague.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Just a quick clarification question. I think it was slide 24. It says that electricity generates 2% of the city's carbon pollution. Just wondering how that number was reached, the rationale behind it.
Yeah, so it's the math of it is how much electricity is used in the city for buildings, EV charging, et cetera, and what portion of that is generated through gas-fired electricity. So Hydro's grid is not 100% hydroelectricity. They do peak with gas. So we take the percentage that's peaked with gas and translate to our own emissions, if that makes sense.
Yep. And does that include the 20 to 25% of electricity that is purchased by BC Hydro?
We build in, yes is the short answer. So we build in the emissions factor that BC Hydro provides through their purchases of hydroelectricity or electricity.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Maloney.
Thanks. I'm interested in hearing about, obviously we've got a lot of budgetary pressure and we need to prioritise our expenditure to get the best outcomes per dollar spent. And I'm interested in hearing about whether there's any what calculations are done, for example, when we compare investment in electric vehicle charging versus something that is cheaper, like active transport infrastructure?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's hard to answer in a short way. So we have done a lot of that work through the climate budget exercise. You'll see an update to it this December. The difficulty is something like electric vehicle charging compared to active transportation. It's a great question. So GHG bang for buck, EV charging will deliver more. Active transportation, though, saves people a ton of money being able to move about the city, walking, biking, or taking transit. So savings for residents as well as GHG reductions based on the city's investments. So it's difficult to compare them in an apples to apples way, if that makes sense. Go ahead.
Do you use an equity lens at all? Because we know that electric vehicles can cost, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 compared to what people who might use transit or active transport costs?
Absolutely. So I'll say two things on this. One is the land use planning to enable people to live close to their daily needs, and then the infrastructure for the walking, cycling, and transit is foundational to the work, and that's our starting point. EV charging, we have shifted our support more to rental buildings as an example, trying to enable access to everybody, not just those that have a detached home with a garage as an example. So that's a small shift in terms of our EV work, but active transportation and transit is fundamental to our overall planning.
Let me just think for a sec. I mean, it certainly would be helpful to have in reporting some comparison of investment outcomes. In terms of adaptation as well, I know that unfortunately we aren't going ahead with the adaptation measures that were contemplated in the West End Waterfront Plan. Do you have any information about what the potential cost outcomes could be in terms of catastrophic storm activity, etc.?
I do not. It's something that through the park board we might be able to follow up with you on. We are looking at this study with ICLEI though to look at if we invest $1 today in the city, how much could we save in the future? And that would include things like the West End as well as other areas of the waterfront.
Okay, thanks very much.
Great, thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, this item was for information only and no decision is required of council at this time. Thank you very much for all the hard work you've done on this file. Thank you. Okay, moving along. So the first report we have is report number 1, liquor establishments and restaurants regulatory review. Now, before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes that they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anybody have a conflict they want to declare? All right, seeing none, this item has a presentation and we do have team members here to present. Morning.
Sorry, we're looking to share a presentation. The share button isn't working. For JAG. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Hicks. I'm the Chief License Inspector. And with me today, I have colleagues from DBL, as well as Vancouver Police, and a colleague from engineering for questions. Today, we're going to be talking about recommendations before you today for amendments to the regulations and service hours for liquor establishments as well as restaurants. So first, we're going to talk about the regulations between the province and the city. So in the province of BC, provincially licensed liquor primaries and food primary establishments are governed under the Liquor Control and Licensing Act and regulations. The province has 2 types of liquor licenses. First is a liquor primary. The focus of those businesses is on liquor. And food primaries are where the focus is on food and liquor is an addition to the business. Food primaries are establishments like restaurants. Liquor primaries are bars, clubs, nightclubs. Through the Vancouver Charter, the city is able to regulate in the means of our license bylaw for business operations, as well as community impacts and hours through our business premise regulation of hours bylaw. We issue 2 licenses connected with the provincial liquor licenses. First is our liquor establishment, again, bars, pubs, and nightclubs, as well as our restaurants with liquor service. Through the provincial legislation, the maximum hours of liquor service are set by the province. Those are from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. Municipalities are enabled to regulate in a way that restricts those hours. In Vancouver, the maximum hours of liquor establishments are between 9 a.m. to 3 a.m., and the maximum hours of liquor service at restaurants is set between 9 a.m. and 2 a.m. In terms of the application process and roles for both levels of government in liquor licensing, local governments play an important role in ensuring that community compatibility, zoning, building code compliance, and business licensing are all addressed. And the liquor licensing process itself is governed by the province, administered through the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch, or the LCRB. The LCRB oversees the application intake, the review, and the public consultation, as well as the final approval. Local governments provide input, but do not control the overall timeline or make the ultimate final decision on the liquor license issuance, as the LCRB is not bound by local government recommendations. The process to obtain a liquor license, whether it be a food primary or liquor primary, is provincial-led. The province is the primary lead to review the liquor license applications, and local governments provide input. All new applications for liquor primaries, whether that be a new location or an amendment to an existing license, require public input. This is a requirement by the province and can either be municipally led or led through the province should the municipality opt out of the process. A municipality can provide support or non-support for an application. This is advisory and is not binding or as the final license decision as it's made by the province. Where the city does have authority is certainly within our zoning and our business licensing regulations. So when we're looking at the city regulates in a number of different ways. First is through our land use, where businesses can locate, such as liquor primaries and restaurants, what kind of permits they need for those approvals. Business licensing sets the operational regulations for these businesses, as well as sets safety and community impact mitigation. We regulate for operating hours, setting the operating hours for a number of different businesses in the city, and in particular for this file, for liquor service hours within those provincial limits. And then we provide our local government input for providing a resolution to the province on new and amended liquor license applications. When we're looking at some of the recent updates that Council has made in December 2023, we made a number of updates to the city's liquor policy. First was to remove distancing requirements that limited businesses, liquor establishments of similar size to being next to one another. We removed the moratoriums on new establishments and expanded establishments in the GED and then 5 sub-areas of the downtown east side. We expanded 3 a.m. closing times to more areas of downtown and the Granville Street. We also increased the maximum capacity that could be enabled for liquor establishments next to residential or primarily residential areas, increasing it from 150 to 200 persons. We enabled dual licensing restaurants to transition from being a restaurant over to a liquor primary or a bar at 9 p.m., which aligns us with the province. We also enabled non-traditional liquor service. Previously was focused on arts and culture, is now available to all business types, including spas, barbershops, retail. And Council delegated authority to the CLI to provide recommendations to the LCRB on all new liquor primary applications. So in addition to these policy updates, staff have also been working behind the scenes with our hospitality sector working group. This group was created in mid-2023, consisting of industry leaders from across the hospitality sector to collaborate with the city on ways to streamline and modernize municipal regulations. With this, we have been able to work towards streamlining the liquor primary and dual liquor license application process by integrating the liquor primary and development permit process in the initial intake, which can save applicants up to 10 weeks of time. We've worked with our colleagues in fire to enable the application process for the stamped occupant load plan upon intake of the liquor primary application, saving up to 4 weeks. Our non-traditional liquor licenses, we've worked through a process to not require development permit, since the main use of the business will remain as the primary business, such as the spa, retail store, barbershop. And internally, we've done work to look at our overall application process, saving applicants up to an additional 3 weeks of time. So now I'll move into the recommendations that are going to be before you today for enabling increased opportunity for businesses. So following feedback from the hospitality sector working group and businesses, we look to expand opportunities to further modernize our regulations, and we looked at operating hours for liquor establishments and restaurants, the regulatory requirements within the license bylaw, our temporary hours policy for special events for businesses, our procedural policies for brand new operators, as well as consolidating the business hours into one bylaw. Our objectives through the work were to ensure that while we continue to look at modernizing our regulations and respond to the hospitality industry, we also look to ensure that we were supporting businesses, our local economies, enhancing opportunities for neighborhood vibrancy, while also considering impacts to neighborhood livability, public health, and safety. We consulted with a number of stakeholders through this work. Key is certainly our hospitality sector working group and our industry. We also worked with our colleagues in Vancouver Police and Vancouver Coastal Health, our BIAs, service and support organizations, TransLink, and other transportation service companies. We also conducted a Shape Your City survey, which received over 3,700 responses. Through the stakeholder feedback, we did hear significant support to expand operating and service hours citywide amongst both our public feedback as well as our stakeholder. How those hours should be set certainly differ. We heard some desire for 4 a.m. closures. We heard some desire to set the latest closing times the same citywide. We also heard feedback that downtown should have more increased hours compared to non-downtown. In terms of the regulatory review that we considered, we heard support from industry for the recommendations that are before you today. When considering public safety and public health, when increasing hours and access to liquor, we heard from our colleagues at VPD that there is some risk of late night disorder and violence and overconsumption. That risk of impact for late night closures could impact the ability for VPD to respond. We will work with them and monitor the impacts of any policy implemented today and consider reaching back out or amending the policy should there be a significant impact. Public health, expanding access to liquor service and increased hours will lead to increased consumption and related health harms, including additional burden on our healthcare system. So as a highlight of the proposed hours before you today, we are looking at enabling 3 a.m. closing 7 days a week to all downtown This would include the 5 sub-areas of the downtown east side that council approved in December 2023. This would extend closing hours for up to 41% of establishments in the downtown area. Outside of downtown, which would include the downtown east side Oppenheimer district, we would be looking to recommend 2 a.m. on weeknights and 3 a.m. on weekends for closing. This would extend hours for businesses in those areas, or 97% of businesses would be eligible to take advantage of that opportunity. And we're looking at citywide to extend the opening hours of the liquor establishments to 9 a.m. Currently, standard hours establishments are able to open at 11 a.m. We're looking to make it citywide as 9 a.m. So in consideration of some of the feedback we heard from industry stakeholders for a 4 a.m. closure, staff did some preliminary exploration of this. In order to extend to 4 a.m., it will require additional VPD resources and funding. At minimum, the Lima unit, which works in the Granville Entertainment District on weekends, would be required to extend their hours. Additional costs could be incurred if there are calls for service increasing beyond those areas. There's also increased risk associated with longer service hours. It could include late night street disorder, including property crime and vandalism, increased violence, overconsumption, increased hospitalizations and burden on the emergency services, as well as noise and nuisance. Vancouver also already has the latest operating hours. Most of our neighboring municipalities close at 2 a.m. And looking at 3 other large cities across the nation, Toronto and Calgary both close at 2 a.m. for their liquor service, and Montreal closes at 3 a.m. So in looking at the key changes before you today, we are looking to make amendments to support businesses in both the restaurant and liquor industries immediately. Current regulations require that restaurants only serve until midnight for the first 6 months of operation, and new liquor establishments operate at standard hours for the first 3 months. We are looking to remove those restrictions and enable full hours of operation or liquor service hours upon business start. We are looking at our regulations and removing regulations that are duplicated with provincial rules and outdated. Industry asked us to consider this, enabling them to because duplicate regulations can be onerous and create confusion with overlap, we are looking to remove half of the liquor-based regulations that the city has, 16 out of 31, and 6 of the 8 regulations for restaurants. These changes will make it simpler for businesses by removing that overlap. While conditions are being retained that require businesses to operate responsibly and contribute towards impacts to the surrounding community, will continue to be in place. Staff are looking at updating our security standards, which will provide businesses more autonomy in how they meet those standards. It'll provide businesses with flexibility, but continue to maintain safety. And when we're looking at the recommendations before you for hours, first we're looking to look at 3 a.m. 7 days a week for all areas downtown, supporting business, tourism, and nightlife. Looking at areas of non-downtown, enabling later weekend hours compared to today, till 3 a.m. on weekends and 2 a.m. on weeknights, enabling weekends, which are the busiest times for establishments, and maintaining some support for neighborhood livability. Looking at streamlining the opening hours, same time across the entire city for all classes of liquor establishment as 9 a.m. And for temporary extensions, we're looking to update an outdated policy which limits establishments to 1 hour extension for special events. We are looking to align with the maximum hours of the province, enabling up to 4 a.m. For the 6 extensions available through the provincial LCRB regulations. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. So council members, you have up to 5 minutes to ask questions of team members, and Councillor Fry, you're up.
Great. Thanks, Mayor. Right off the top, I received some correspondence from local proprietors about changes to provincial regulations that just happened regarding patio licensing. Has this come across your radar, and is this something?
That may be referring to the temporary measures that the province put in over COVID. They put out a temporary patio, TESA, temporary expanded service area. That program has now ended, and establishments have been required to apply for the permanent change. The province and both the city have been notifying businesses who had taken part in the temporary program for the past couple of years to get them in and do the permanent change to their license to get those patios recognized.
Okay, so this isn't a random and very lacking in notice kind of change. This has been well positioned in advance. As I understand, some people are scrambling.
Some businesses are, yes, and we're doing what we can to support them through the process.
Okay, I appreciate hearing that. Where we do this extended liquor licensing, I know in the past liquor licensing has been subject to sort of robust public consultation. Neighbors get to say, well, you know, this is going to impact me. How does this look like moving forward?
They'll continue to be able to do that. Any change to an establishment's operating hours, both food primary and liquor primary, is required to go through public consultation. That it's a requirement of the province. The city is able to consider that through an application process and determine whether we opt in and do the public notification, take in the feedback, and give a recommendation to the province, or whether, you know, we're not really seeing any problems with the establishment, we opt out and say, province, it's up to you. They're required to post public notification through the province, and the province will make the ultimate decision either way with that feedback.
I see. So this is still on a case-by-case basis for the city, but if we feel that it's fine, then we would waive that public consultation piece.
Our typical process is that if we don't have concerns with the particular location or operator for changes in licensing, that we opt out and tell the province that we don't have a concern and allow them to run the process.
And by the way, I forgot to mention, thank you for all the recent work. Like there's, you know, you listed the recent stuff, including the dual licenses, obviously, and thank you for all the work that's been going on with you and your team. It's been really, really helpful.
Thank you.
And I know the industry has appreciated it as well. I'm curious, where are we considering, I guess, sort of adjacent, sort of ancillary uses? If we're keeping businesses open later, can they stay open after they've served, so people can, if it's, you know, 3 a.m, they can stay till the buses start running, but there's no liquor service? Are we considering like transit needs and 24-hour restaurants, even places to go afterwards, so that people aren't just being dumped on the streets with no means of getting home? I know Matt has written us about this.
So there's a couple of pieces to that. Transit will not be extending service, but they do have night bus service that starts at 1:30. We also have the introduction of ride-hailing in 2020, and as well as the taxi industry saying that they can pick up, you know, the volume related to these changes. Businesses, liquor primary businesses cannot stay open after closure. Those are provincial regulations. They aren't ours. They must stay closed afterwards until reopening the next day. I believe 6 a.m. would be the earliest without alcohol, and 9 a.m. With alcohol, pending the conditions on their license. In terms of restaurants, with very few exceptions, such as in the downtown east side, there are regulations that limit a number of type of businesses to close, including restaurants, between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. Restaurants can open 24/7. They have to cease liquor service by the bylaw today, 1 a.m. on weekdays and 2 a.m. on weekends, but otherwise they can continue to operate and serve food.
So in theory, a dual licensed restaurant could have liquor service till 2 or whatever, and then
No.
no.
Because they became a dual licensed establishment, they have to close at the end of their liquor service until 6 a.m. the next morning.
Oh, interesting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Meisner.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the presentation. And just echoing Councillor Fry's comments about the changes that staff advanced in December of 2023. Thank you for those. That's where I'd like to focus on. I'm just wondering if you could share any learnings or highlights of those changes, any challenges that have come to, I guess, to light as a result of some of those changes that we made. I know it's a really big question.
Big question.
But anything stands out because they were quite significant.
They were significant. Applications for liquor primaries tend to be slow. It is a process to apply for those changes, to amend your license permanently with the process. So those applications come in slow over time. So I don't think we've had enough time to truly talk about the impact of those recent changes.
Okay, so when looking at perhaps the moratorium being lifted in the GED and the areas of the downtown east side, have we heard of any negative feedback or impacts from that? I haven't personally as a councillor, but I'm not obviously on the ground.
Not that come to mind. We have received a couple of new applications in those areas, expansions of existing establishments, but no significant concerns at this time.
Okay, thank you. I'm wondering about the additional VPD funding that was mentioned if we were to go to a 4 a.m. closure. Have we quantified that, or do we have an idea of what that would look like?
We can only speak to what the approximate cost would be for Lima, which would be the Granville Entertainment District. We know that would be approximately $150,000, but if it were expanded beyond that, we don't know the costs.
Okay, so $150,000 for that extra hour if we were to go to, say, a 4 a.m. closure?
Yes, and I don't know if colleagues from VPD want to comment.
It'd be great to get some more context.
I believe those are $125,000 initial estimates.
So 125 was the initial estimate for Lima.
Okay, and that's just for the Granville Entertainment District? Okay. If it was to be expanded, say, extended till 4 a.m. across all of downtown, it would be more than 125, I would imagine.
Superintendent Chan, do you want to go to the microphone?
Yeah, so Councilor Meisner, I think it's tough to quantify right now because I think each establishment is going to be on a case-by-case basis. So it's going to be tough to say day one, if we have, let's say, 15 establishments spread out throughout the city, that may be a lesser workload for calls for service and police resourcing. If it's all localized in a certain area, that could impact as well. So I think it's going to take some time to quantify what the actual cost could be, depending on how many applications get approved for the extended licenses.
Okay, thank you. And just since I have you there, what are you seeing on the Granville Entertainment, or in the Granville Entertainment District in terms of, I guess, trends in terms of, violence or fights? Is it trending in a positive direction from your perspective, or is it holding steady?
Yeah, so I mean, street disorder is obviously always an issue for us in the GED area. It really depends on the weekends. Sometimes we're seeing really busy weekends where there's lots of fights, some stabbings, lots of street disorder. Other weekends, not so much. So again, difficult to quantify. I wouldn't say things are trending up or down in that area. It really depends on the weekend and what other type of other concurrent events are happening in the city on any given day.
Okay, understand. Okay, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dominato.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks for the presentation. A couple of questions. Just on I'm looking at page 6 of the report around the late night hours uptake. Given the changes that took place in 2023, it looks like it's been pretty small uptake. I think it says 6 of 38 establishments have applied for the extended hours. Do you anticipate a similar sort of trend line with the proposed changes here? That'll really vary based on whether a restaurant or a bar thinks they, have the clientele, the staff, and so on. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, staff anticipate it's likely going to be a slow uptake. It really needs to make economic sense for businesses in order to look at expanding those hours. There's increased costs for staffing that they have to consider being able to provide that. Nonetheless, the application process with the province in order to go through with that. So it's likely to be a slower uptake with any of these changes.
Okay, but it gives them the flexibility, the option.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Looking at page 7 of the report, the hours of liquor service policy and special event extension policy guidelines. I'm curious if what's proposed here is to, it would enable a business that maybe hasn't opted for the later hours, but if they're wanting to have, because I think it says up to 6 times per year to have extended hours, they might be able to do that in conjunction with, for example, Taylor Swift concert, FIFA coming up. Does that provide an establishment that opportunity is to say, but for this period of time, we want to have extended hours, but otherwise we normally don't want to because it doesn't make sense. But for these events, we want to be open longer.
Absolutely. The province enables 6 extensions per year, up to a max of 4 a.m. Without special consideration. So we're looking to align for that, whatever the reason, whether that be a Taylor Swift concert or a graduation party or a retirement party. It's the business choice.
Okay, thank you. Just around the updating of license conditions, could you expand a little bit on the issues around public safety? And it talks about currently businesses with extended hours and over 200-person capacity must use metal detectors after 9 p.m., but industry feedback suggests businesses should be able to choose security measures based on their needs. Can you just walk me through if I was, for example, the Cineplex Rec Room or the Fairmont Pack Rim Lobby Lounge, and I don't know the exact capacity of those establishments, would they require metal detectors? Is that something we would be requiring in future or we do now? I'm just not clear.
Currently. The current regulations are that you require a metal detector, whether that be, the walk-through booth or wanding. We're looking to broaden that and allow it to be a business choice. The requirement will still be that businesses put in place processes to eliminate weapons from entering establishments, but it is up to them in how they establish that. The bylaw will give examples such as wanding or bag checks. If an establishment is found to not be doing that, it will be a condition that as the chief license inspector, I would be able to dictate what they must do as a minimum.
Okay, so there's some discretion there. You're saying there's more discretion as a result?
We're giving full discretion to the business on how they ensure weapons are eliminated.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I'm curious I've had some conversations, but I'm curious if staff have had any conversations in bringing, you did all of this consultation. I can't recall from your list if TransLink was part of that. I suspect they were. Have you heard of any movement around the extension of SkyTrain to align with any changes we're making? I've had conversations and I've repeatedly heard a reluctance for various reasons, but I'm curious if you got any sense that there might be some changes there or some openness to align with these changes.
Great, thank you for the question. Paul Storer, Director of Transportation. We've connected with TransLink many times about this. They went through an independent study several years ago, I think it was 2019, that really looked at could they extend hours of SkyTrain and what would that look like? And basically what they found is that it isn't feasible to significantly extend those hours because they need that time to maintain both the tracks and the cars.
Okay. I appreciate that update. That's my time. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Orr.
Yeah, thanks so much. A couple questions. Regarding the downtown Eastside Oppenheimer District, I'm just a little concerned about the impact on SROs. Mainly that maybe running bars it would be more profitable than running SROs, and then there could be an incentive to keep the SROs empty. There is something in the Granville Street plan that kind of allows for this or takes this into consideration. I think it's that condition for development permits that SROs have at least 80% occupancy. Is it possible that we get a similar condition for SRA buildings in the downtown East Oppenheimer district?
So the downtown Eastside Oppenheimer district currently is not zoned to enable new liquor establishments. So the existing establishments are 4 existing establishments in the area and 1 in Strathcona. So there wouldn't be opportunity for new conditions related to development permits in that realm.
Oh, okay, excellent. And then I noticed, so in the report didn't mention gendered violence, or on the presentation, sorry, but the report does here. Community service groups did not oppose later closing times, but noted that any change to expanded hours should be done in consideration of late night transit and impact on local vulnerable populations. Can you just expand more, like, on what that looks like? Like, is that working with like Good Night Out or other groups, or?
It could be that, yes. Good Night Out currently provides services in and around the Granville area. There had been, I believe ACCS is working with Good Night Out to look at what opportunities there may be to expand their services, but right now they are focused in the GED area.
Okay, great. Sorry, where was I? I think that's good for me, actually. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, Chair, I'm just looking at the time and I'm seeing we've got about 5 or 6 speakers and not much agenda ahead of us, but a very full in camera this afternoon. And I'm wanting to move to propose to extend to complete the council business today so that we don't have to pull all of the staff back and pop in and out because we've got a pretty full agenda today and tomorrow.
So seconded by Councillor Joe. Council, is there any discussion?
Sorry, yeah, if I may just add to that, and if we go a bit later, I think we have flexibility. We could start in camera, 1:15 or 1:30 at your discretion, but just to complete this, it might be more efficient.
So just so we're clear, are we talking about finishing all the business, including the next item plus the bylaws and new?
Correct, to council business.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Joe. Council, is there any discussion? Seeing no one on the queue, we will put it to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Great. We will continue on the business until it's done. Thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, so on that note, and seeing no one else on the queue or in the queue, we're going to now hear from registered speakers for this report. Public speakers should state whether they are in support or opposition of the recommendations, may only speak once. I'll also ask the speakers if they are residents of Vancouver, if it is not noted on the speakers list. Our first public speaker on the public body representative list is Mark Lecision, Medical Health Officer, Vancouver Coastal Health.
Right, thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'm Dr. Mark Lecision. I work for Vancouver Coastal Health as a medical health officer for the City of Vancouver. Under the BC Public Health Act, medical health officers are legally required to advise local governments on public health matters, and I'm here today to speak against the motion around liquor establishments and restaurants. City staff have also included my recommendations in their report along with data to support it. Alcohol consumption is associated with numerous health risks, including cancer, heart disease, liver disease, injuries, violence, addiction, and death. Canada's new guidance on alcohol and health notes that no amount of alcohol consumption is safe and that Canadians should reduce their alcohol consumption to as low as possible. The guidelines recommend drinking between 1 and 2 drinks per week in order to avoid significant risks of health harms. Alcohol consumption rates in BC and in Vancouver are much higher than this. On average, residents of Vancouver drink 8 standard drinks per week, so much higher than the 0 to 2 limit recommended by the guidelines. Residents of certain areas in Vancouver drink much more. In Vancouver City Centre, the average consumption is 16 standard drinks per week. In Vancouver Centre North, it's 10 standard drinks per week. And in Vancouver Midtown, it's 9 standard drinks per week. Alcohol is a significant burden on the healthcare system. Over the past 10 years, hospitalizations and deaths related to alcohol have been increasing, and they are currently at high levels. hospitalizations for injuries, a type of outcome particularly associated with late night drinking, have been increasing more steeply. Any increase in alcohol availability through expansion of hours increases alcohol consumption, and any increase in alcohol consumption increases related harms. Increasing alcohol consumption into the late night or early morning hours is particularly risky, and the risk increases as you get later in the evening. It's not so much that more people drink into the evening, it's just that the type of drinking that's done in that time frame is more risky. It's more likely to result in problems. And these are particularly problems not only to the person engaging in the drinking, but to other people. And so these are harms related to injuries, violence, including gender-based violence. We also know that in areas where there are more liquor establishments, these areas have higher rates of binge drinking, and binge drinking is also associated with these types of harms to others. Over the past few years, the City of Vancouver has been expanding availability of alcohol through expanding the types of businesses that can provide alcohol, allowing public consumption of alcohol, and other changes. Yeah, I know I'm done. And so I would recommend City Council takes that into consideration and basically not expand alcohol availability in Vancouver. Thanks.
Thank you very much for coming in. Okay, the next speaker we have is Lewis Hart. Lewis?
Hello, everyone. I'm speaking in support. First of all, I just appreciate all the work over the last 3 years that's been done by the city staff, mayor and council. I think we feel more supported in 3 years than my entire time living in Vancouver. My position on the report is that I would like to see the ending time uniform everywhere. My venues are based in Chinatown, so I do qualify as downtown, but I think we saw the benefits of creating an even playing field for everybody with the moratorium being lifted and the benefits. And with the Broadway development coming up and Oak Ridge, we don't know what those neighborhoods will look like. So providing neighborhoods with an even playing field will be good for that. They're already slated for high density, so we know that there are going to be a lot of people looking for late night. So having localized late night venues will be better to limit transit options that people are concerned about, such as cars. When looking at closing times being discussed, I don't see much value in the difference between the 3 a.m. closure and the 4 a.m. temporary extensions. It just allows for organic growth if it is at 4 a.m. My venues are allowed to stay open later, but I still close at 12 a.m. on Sundays and Mondays, just because that's what my business requires. But the flexibility means that I can move. It doesn't necessarily stop operators either from acting this way. By allowing the licensing, it actually allows accountability. You do get late night venues operating at 4 a.m., but without going through the correct means. And when that happens, the city, the VPD, and the liquor inspectors are actually handcuffed because no one has pure jurisdiction. So a liquor inspector can come in and fine an operator with a license for not acting by the regulations, but when they don't have a license, a liquor inspector doesn't have the jurisdiction. The VPD can't arrest anyone for doing anything illegal because it's a bylaw, and city bylaw officers don't want to go out at 4 a.m. to shut down a late night venue. So allowing licensing allows operators to look at opportunities, go through the correct means, and then we all act in accordance to how the city, the VPD, and the liquor inspectors want us to act. To speak to Councillor Montague's benefits of what's happened since the drop of the moratorium. We, through the support of many councillors, mayor, and Destination Vancouver, we hosted 50 best bars in April. We will be the host city next year as well. 5 of Canada or North America's 50 best bars are now in a 3-block radius in Chinatown. When the moratorium existed, that would not have been feasible, and everything was centralized to the GED area. Another aspect here is that we also limit spaces for our staff upon closure. Not everyone's going to be open till 4 a.m., but our staff right now all work till 2 a.m. There are not many late night options for them to blow off steam, meet other bartenders, and appreciate the very industry that they got involved in, and that causes burnout, that causes turnover in an industry where we're limited for staff. Sorry, I'm run out. I like to speak. There we go. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for coming in, Lewis. Speaker number 2, Cameron Bogue.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is much less intimidating last time than my entire business success was on the line. But today my operational equality is. My name is Cameron Bogue, and I'm the owner-operator of Mount Pleasant Vintage and Provisions, and I am full support of extending liquor license operating hours to 4 a.m. across the board for all liquor primary licensees, and the abolishment of temporary restrictions for opening new venues. I'm overwhelmed by the outpouring support of the 84% of Vancouverites who want the hospitality culture to extend late night hours. And I want to thank all the council members for supporting the dual license initiative that I was part of. We've come a long way. This is changing the perception of liquor primary license to vibrant gathering places for communities to meet in real life. I've opened one of the most successful restaurants in the city with staggering year-over-year growth because we're providing the community wants. A place to socialize, rub elbows, simply stand with a drink, and dance where they can meet people in an engaging high-volume cocktail bar. They're not all restaurants or nightclubs. As a city, we're on the right path for operational equality and must continue to level the playing field for all operators. Drawing lines where people can operate different hours downtown only helps the prehistoric operators of nightclubs in a disgusting form of protectionism. I love with the proposed legislation that we're able to compete on weekends, but the lowered liquor primary weekday hours creates an unfair advantage. Anecdotally, we do not stay open late on weekdays as our demand dictates that, but it hamstrings us from competing with special events. The perfect example was the top 50 bars in the world, one of the most prestigious awards in the bar industry. They landed on a Monday and Tuesday, which they will again next year. Outside of downtown, we had a tough time throwing events due to earlier closing times. Instead of spending time discovering our extensive cocktail culture, the world's best bartenders, operators, judges, and global media spend 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. at strip clubs. I've worked in dozens of world-class cities, ranging from Vegas, New York, Miami, and Ibiza, that all serve alcohol later than 4 a.m. Obviously, more liquor will be consumed over time, but that's our freedom. That's our freedom of choice. But it will be distributed over more time, and it will be distributed over more consumers. It would allow us to serve more guests who will exit at staggered times, as proven by many other cities' examples. This removes the mass dump of consumers at 2 a.m. This eases up transportation needs that's jamming up the system. There's less neighborhood disturbance, and it lowers crowded violence. I strongly believe that all liquor primaries need to be equal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cameron. The next speaker is speaker number 3, Ryan Mitten. Ryan, are you online?
Yes, I am online. Thank you. And I will clarify that while I am not a resident of Vancouver, our BC office is proudly located in downtown Vancouver. I'm here today to speak in favor of the motion. So thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. We represent over 9,700 small and medium-sized businesses here in British Columbia. We strongly support the city's vision to make Vancouver more vibrant by giving hospitality businesses the flexibility to extend their hours of alcohol service. This is a timely and practical step, especially as the city prepares to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup and welcome visitors from around the world. Small businesses are the heart of Vancouver's neighborhoods and economy. They create jobs, enliven our streets, and showcase the city's diversity and energy, from family-run restaurants to craft breweries and live music venues. However, many small businesses remain under significant strain. Nearly half of BC small business owners rely on summer tourism for part of their revenue. 57% are concerned about external factors like trade disputes from disrupting tourism and their operations. Recently, CFIB's July Business Barometer shows that BC's small business optimism is well below the national average, with weak demand and regulatory costs among the top barriers to growth. On average, small businesses spend the equivalent of 1 month each year complying with government red tape. In BC, regulation costs exceed $6.8 billion annually, with $2.3 billion considered unnecessary red tape. Allowing extended hours for bars and restaurants is a practical way to support these businesses, boost tourism, and help Vancouver shine on the world stage. We encourage Council to ensure that any application process for extended hours is simple, timely, and affordable. Clear guidelines, reasonable timelines, and minimal fees will allow small businesses to fully participate without undue burden. I will add at this point that as FIFA draws nearer, it's also critical that small businesses receive timely and effective communication regarding regulatory changes that may impact their operations, such as the changes we're discussing today. CFIBs is pleased to serve as a resource to Council and can share additional insights from small businesses to help guide this work. Thank you for your commitment to supporting small businesses, residents, and visitors alike.
Great, thank you very much. The next speaker is speaker number 4, Winky Tam. Winky, are you on the line?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great. Please go ahead.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Winky Tam, resident of Vancouver and also the Strategy and Development Director for the Downtown Vancouver Business Improvement Association. Today I'm speaking on behalf of Downtown Van's President and CEO in favor of the motion. Downtown Van supports the city's move to extend liquor establishment hours to 3 a.m. in the Central Business District. This is a step in the right direction for our hospitality sector. However, we urge Council to consider allowing 4 a.m. closures, which we have previously advocated for to the city. We also urge the city to ensure that the associated licensing process is streamlined, removing barriers that make it difficult for businesses to access and implement these changes efficiently. This flexibility is vital. Not every business will use it, but for many, it could be the difference between surviving and thriving. Granville Street in particular is facing high vacancy rates. It's currently at 26%, with 1 in 4 storefronts vacant and economic strain. 1 extra hour could help stabilize businesses, drive tourism, and bring renewed energy to our downtown core. And we look forward to working with the city to support a vibrant and resilient late-night economy. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Speaker number 5, Bert Hick. Bert?
Thank you, Your Worship. And first of all, I want to congratulate the staff for doing such a wonderful job, and you folks for taking the leadership role on this project that's gone on for a couple of years now. And I am very pleased to support the majority of the recommendations that have been made here, but I would propose a couple of refinements. I totally agree with the restaurant's recommendation of 2 a.m. citywide for a level playing field 7 days a week. They are primarily in the food business, and I think you'll find a lot of restaurants will still stay within because of staffing and other issues, what their existing hours are pretty well. Restaurants operating after 2 a.m. are pretty well serving alcohol. So I think that 2 a.m. is great. For liquor primary establishments, I just very seldom disagree with Cameron, but I'd like to see it be 3 a.m. citywide for a level playing field 7 days a week. But for downtown Vancouver, whether it be the Granville Street Entertainment District or nightclubs that offer that sort of nightclub activity and the setup with live music or a DJ music, dancing, I think the downtown core should go to 4 a.m. We need help. You guys just debated the Granville Street revitalization plan. This is our entertainment district. They need help. So I very much support that. We also want to be a world-class city. Well, let's give it to the tourists. Let's give it to the residents and know what happened. Earlier there's a comment made about metal detectors. I think the metal detectors should be required at certain types of establishments, but not all of it, because you don't want to go into the Pac Rim Lobby Bar or into the Fairmont Hotel Vancouver or into the Vancouver Trade and Convention Center and get confronted with metal detector requirements. It sends a bad signal to our visitors or tourists coming to town. You have to go through metal detectors. I also think that the requirement of an acoustical study for a new application should be based on the type of establishment. You know what type of establishments need to have metal detectors. And I'm going to end by telling you a short little story. Back in 1986, you could not get a drink on a Sunday in a restaurant or a bar. But what happened, and I ran the cabinet secretariat for Premier Bill Bennett back in the day, we were going to host the world here for Expo 86. So the government decided to bring in an order in council to change the regulation to allow drinking on Sundays just for Expo 86. But when Bill Bennett signed the order in council and handed it to me after he signed it, he said, this is one order in council we're not rescinding after Expo 86, because it's supposed to be, it was been terminated on October the 31st. So he wanted to have a world-class city. He knew where people are coming here from all over the world for Expo 86. And I think we're in the same way now with FIFA coming and all sorts of events coming, major conferences and conventions. Thanks.
Oh, bang on. Sorry, on time that is. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bert. Okay, so that's the end of our speakers list. Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone who came out to speak and online. Would someone like to move a motion? Great. Moved by Councillor Kirby-Young, seconded by Councillor Dominato. Council, is there any discussion? Councillor Kirby-Young, you're up.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And I want to thank staff for all the work they've been doing on this file. And I know it's a lot, but it's actually been great to see kind of the simplification, if I can put it that way. It's a complicated area in terms of licensing and permitting for restaurants and for liquor, and we've been really working to simplify that. I think it was referenced the amount of changes that have been made collectively with the support of this council, such as the moratorium in the GED in 5 sub areas, because all of that work has been done in terms of creating a level playing field and not having winners and losers that we were finding that sometimes if you were a business on one side of the street versus another, you were subject to a different set of rules, and that just did not seem fair and equitable. So I appreciate the work that's been done around the applying regulations and as well as streamlining the permitting. I do have an amendment to propose, Mayor, if you want to move us to an amendment queue.
Yep. Please, if you can put yourself on the amendment queue, please. Great. Councillor Kirby-Young, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the amendment really is sort of acknowledging that the spirit of the work that's being done here by staff and the feedback that we heard from the public was around alignment with the provincial regulations and not having unnecessary disparity. We've aligned on the opening time, but not necessarily the closing. And so the amendment is proposing that, and I'll just read the key clause here, an amendment to update the hours and the regulation areas for liquor establishments with specific direction to extend maximum liquor service to 4 a.m. for liquor primary businesses in the downtown in alignment with the provincial liquor regulations, and acknowledging the importance of transportation, that we continue our advocacy. So requesting the mayor to write a letter to TransLink to extend the transit service hours in the downtown area, including SkyTrain, to align with the 4 a.m. closing time. And I will note that further, if you, council turns your attention, that it excludes the downtown east side, recognizing this is a district with unique and special considerations, and staff are continuing to do work in that area. So really the purpose here is to sort of respond to what we heard, the stakeholder feedback, which is keep it simple. Let's enable a vibrant industry across the city. Let's make it easier for businesses to do business. It does distinguish between the downtown and the rest of the city. There is still, I think, a real distinction between the heart of the city and neighborhoods that do have more residential. And I think one comment that's really important to note is that the pickup, as was expressed by our chief license inspector, is expected to be slower. This is about giving businesses the choice. It's not an automatic that everybody's open. Businesses still have to apply. They still have to fulfill all of the requirements. There's still public notification that happens. They still have to be good operators in response to neighborliness, noise, and fulfilling all of those requirements. This simply gives them the choice based on their business to remain open as the provincial regulation allows them to do without unduly putting an additional hurdle here. I also think too that I'll comment that we heard a lot when councils made previous changes, such as enabling people to have a beverage in parks, et cetera. There was a lot of concern expressed from a health perspective at that time or from a safety point of view. We haven't seen that materialize. We had one hotspot area at Sunset Beach that has its own unique considerations, and VPD have put, and working with Park Board and other partners have put sort of a framework around that to respond to it. But I think that when you give people the ability to be adults and positive spaces for them to be inside, that is a better scenario than turning people out. And what we're seeing, honestly, particularly in the downtown area, has been a proliferation of illegal after-hours clubs. And so you have your operators that are actually spending or paying their property taxes, dealing with rising costs, trying to keep their business going. And when you shut that arbitrary timeline down, they're just going literally next door or half a block down the street, and they're going to the illegal after hours that does not have the same sort of safety considerations and the same operating I guess, commitments that those legit businesses are operating under. So that is the amendment, and I appreciate council's consideration. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. We got that, Councillor Meisner, seconded. Great, thank you. Councillor Maloney.
Yeah, I'd like to move an amendment to the amendment that's been distributed.
Okay, can we please go to Amendment Q2? And thank you very much. Councillor Maloney, go ahead.
Yeah, my amendment picks up on the language already in the original amendment to just reverse the order so that we ask for additional transit service and that be put in place before the extension to 4 o'clock is put in place. And the reason why I'm concerned about that is because it's so important that everyone gets home safely. We need to discourage drink driving and mitigate some of the negative effects of alcohol consumption, including gender-based violence, and also just to help hospitality workers get home safely as well, which is so important.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, I appreciate the spirit of the amendment, but unfortunately, procedurally, it doesn't work because we can't give staff direction to make changes to bylaws if and when something else happens. It's not an if-then scenario. They have to be given explicit direction based on a set of conditions. So essentially, I don't want to go through a whole process of ruling that it's actually functionally kind of impracticable or out of order, but it simply isn't a clear direction. It would just mean that you would just, if you're not supportive of the amendment, that you just vote. I would suggest councillors either vote for or against it, but you can't give direction to staff to do this if they have to have a very clear expectation what you can put in a bylaw. A bylaw has to provide specificity for the local businesses. So I think the amendment is problematic the way that it is written. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dominato.
Thanks, Mayor. Sorry, I didn't hear if there was a seconder to the amendment. Was there?
No, there.
So we can't debate it unless there's a seconder.
Oh.
So could I get clarification on a point of parliamentary procedure?
Sorry, go ahead.
Was there a seconder? I
No.
did not hear
Would
one.
someone like to second the amendment to the amendment? Councillor Orr, thank you. And thank you, Councillor Dominato.
Thank you. I'll just a slightly different reflection on this. I do appreciate the spirit in which this is being brought forward because I think public transit is incredibly important to servicing our city and communities for a whole variety of reasons, but as well economically. But that being said, aside from the procedural aspect of not being able to add this condition, I don't want to hold up this good work of supporting our small businesses on the basis of TransLink and transit. We've been having ongoing discussions with TransLink about extension of SkyTrain for many years now, which is, I appreciate the inclusion of that advocacy here. But we already have bus night service within the city. I'd love to see more service and more extended SkyTrain hours, but I certainly don't want to hold up this work in the extended operating hours on the basis of TransLink because that could be many years out before we see that extended service. And so from that perspective, I'm not prepared to support the amendment to the amendment because I think it would actually be disabling to supporting our small businesses. And again, I appreciate the spirit of which it's brought forward though, and in spirit of support more public transit in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Orr.
I'm not on the queue, I don't think. Sorry, I didn't mean to be on the queue.
Okay. Councillor Maloney.
Yeah, look, I'm grateful that people understand, obviously, the need to increase transit service. But I do note that I did take the language of this amendment from the original amendment, and just note that I'm not sure what the purpose would be of including that original language if there's no intention for it to have an effect. But I'll leave it at that, and I am supportive of the original amendment, just with those reservations.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. Seeing no one else on the queue, we are going to put the amendment to a vote. Okay. and the amendment to amendment does not pass with myself, Councillor Kirby Young, Dominato, Bly, Fry, Montague, Clausen, Meisner, and Joe in opposition. So now we are going to go back to the amendment queue. Councillor Maloney, did you have any other comments on that?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Meisner?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Kirby Young, for moving this important amendment, I think, and to the points around transit. Certainly, throughout my council term, and I know going back to previous term, there's been lots of advocacy to TransLink to extend SkyTrain hours, to increase night bus service, and we'll continue to do that advocacy. And there has been some improvements to night bus service, as well as the introduction of rideshare in Vancouver, which we did not have for a very long time, which has given people more options to get home if they're out on Granville Street or anywhere else in our downtown. So on the amendment, I think this makes a lot of sense, and I think that Vancouver is ready as a city. This will not just help support our hospitality sector and our small businesses, but it will also boost our nightlife economy and give people more options to go out and enjoy themselves in our city. To one of the points raised earlier, there are several after-hours venues in our city, and city staff and VPD I know are working on addressing issues with some of those venues. But I can tell you that I know people that are going to those venues after the bars close, and obviously those venues are not necessarily as safe or licensed as a bar. So it is an issue, and I do believe that extending our hours, particularly in the downtown core and the entertainment district, will help mitigate some of the attraction of some of those after-hours venues where people are maybe in an unlicensed premises or a premises that doesn't necessarily have the proper fire safety regulations, et cetera. So overall, I'm supportive of this, and it was mentioned about Expo 86, and I do agree that FIFA is a similar opportunity for Vancouver to really take its rightful place on the world stage and ensure we are continuing to evolve and be an exciting and dynamic city that has a wide variety of options for people to entertain themselves and go out and enjoy themselves responsibly. And I have a lot of confidence that we can manage it. And so I'm really excited to hopefully see this amendment approved because I think it will contribute to making Vancouver more vibrant and exciting, particularly ahead of welcoming the world for the FIFA World Cup. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fry.
Yeah. I mean, this is well, okay, so first I'm going to just comment on not supporting Councillor Maloney's amendment, fundamentally because, to add a condition to a bylaw just that is completely out of our control. It doesn't make much sense from a procedural point of view. I do have concerns around the extending to 4 a.m., mostly because I'm not sure what the policing costs may be to actually expand that service and what that means broadly. I would have liked to have seen this come from staff, but I do recognize that it's not kind of mandated across the board, that some people will, I would imagine the majority of businesses won't support it unless there's a viable kind of outlet for a 4 a.m. closure. So I'm reluctantly going to support this, and I say reluctantly because I would have liked to have seen a little bit more staff input on what this means for resources, what this means for policing, and what this could potentially mean for opportunities, especially with FIFA coming. So I'll lend my support to this amendment, but again, it's something I probably would have preferred to see, and I do, I guess, wonder if I may, through you, Mayor, ask of staff, what would this mean to, in the context of a pilot versus a permanent solution? Could this be rolled back with relative ease if this was to move ahead and it proved to be more of a burden than it was worth?
Regardless of whether extended hours are placed as a permanent amendment to the bylaw or as a pilot, businesses are required to go through the application process to change their license with the province. The city retains the authority to regulate hours of liquor establishments. If we see a significant impact, staff can return with bylaw amendments to roll back the hours.
Okay, perfect. And I do acknowledge that. Thank you for that. And I do acknowledge that the province has set this up as 4 a.m. This was originally a provincial kind of legislation that allowed for up to 4 a.m. So this is, with those comments from Sarah Hicks, I'm comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kirby-Young,
No, I'm good, thanks.
good. Councillor Orr,
Yeah, sorry, just as a point of information, if I was to add an amendment, would it be to this amendment, amend the amendment, or does it go back to the other queue? Okay.
it would be it would be an amendment to an amendment. Yes. After this. Oh, sorry. Okay. Do you want to amend this motion?
This is an added letter on the original sort of recommendations.
Yeah, that would be a separate.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Sorry, I misheard you. Okay. Seeing no one else in the queue, we are going to put Councillor Kirby-Young's amendment to a vote. Great. And the Councillor Kirby-Young's amendment passes unanimously. Okay. So, I see Councillor Orr has added himself to the amendment queue. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to introduce an amendment based on gender-based violence. And I did get some help from a colleague just to note that the funding for programs around gender-based violence, specifically Good Night Out, comes from industry, not just city, and I'd like to recognize that. And that the city did give a supporting grant, but the downtown BIA also contributed money to that. So with that, the amendment is up on the screen as a new letter at the end.
Great. Seconded by Councillor Fry. Council, is there any discussion? Okay. Seeing no one in the queue, we will go back to the voting panel and vote on Councillor Orr's amendment. Great. And that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, so seeing no one else in the amendment queue, I'm going to go back to the main queue. Seeing no one lined up to speak, we're now going to call, Councillor Klassen.
Yeah, I'm going to be just really quick, Mayor, and just want to thank staff for all the work that they've done to get it to this point. And I do think that we are taking important steps to recognize the business climate, supporting our hospitality sector. And I particularly want to thank the speakers that came out, both Lewis and Cameron, who came out, who spoke to the work that they do to kind of bring people together. Cameron's very colorful description of people socializing in his venue really sort of rang true to me. I think it's so important that we do have the opportunity of people to have a safe environment where they can share each other's company, have a drink. I do get concerned about the what I perceive to be some of the rhetoric around alcohol consumption, and it's really hard to derive the numbers because there are so many competing forces out there for narrative. But without getting into all the numbers here, the risk of cancer associated, the absolute risk of cancer associated with alcohol in a 2021 study is about 1%. And about 97.2%, I believe, I'm sort of missing that number right now, but it's in that kind of area, are of cancers are non-alcohol related. So I just need to kind of put that on the record there, because I do think sometimes we are perhaps overly worrying about the direct health impacts are related to cancer on alcohol consumption, which is obviously done in moderation by the vast majority of the public. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Orr.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's good to see council vote to expand the hours of safe consumption sites. And it's great to be reminded how destructive and costly alcohol is by Vancouver Vancouver Coastal Health, and to note that it is based on science and not rhetoric. We often focus on hard drugs, but forget about the harms related to liquor, so thank you for that. I also want to echo Councillor Fry's concerns around the costs, the VPD costs, and Councillor Maloney's concerns around SkyTrain hours. But at the same time, as somebody who worked for 25 years in the industry, I do understand the regulatory sort of handcuffs at play, and I appreciate all the work from staff, and I'm happy to support this going forward. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, seeing no one else in the queue, we will put the motion, the report as amended to a vote. Sorry? Good, okay, great. And that passes unanimously. Great, thank you very much. That completes report number 1. And I know we're going to complete the rest of the business, but can we take a 2-minute recess? Or ask questions of team members.
Thank you very much, Mayor. So the SRA bylaw in section 4.8 suggests $300,000 conversion fee for SRA units. Did this bylaw exist when the site was purchased for redevelopment in 2016?
Good afternoon. Celine Mobles, Managing Director of Housing and Homelessness Services. Yes, when the owner purchased this building, the bylaw was in place.
Thank you. So my understanding that these conversion fees exist to fill a desperate need. If we're going to waive them without replacing them, we're essentially going to lose out on deeply affordable housing. Is there some way to source money to replace the $2.1 million that we would be not getting for this?
Yeah, council can, all SRA permit applications, council can approve them outright, refuse them, or attach conditions to them. Staff, in the case of each application, consider a number of factors, including the land and the building and its use and occupancy. In this case, the building had been vacant for many years and was deemed unsafe to occupy. And staff were able to negotiate both affordability and tenure as rental for life of the building. Therefore, we're recommending approval of the permit as it secures a housing benefit in a building that would otherwise sit vacant.
Right, but isn't it sort of to like, isn't there a thing where this is to prevent somebody buying up a derelict building and then waiting and then, oh, it becomes uninhabitable and then there's nothing we can do and then you just ask to waive the SRA? Isn't it to prevent all that?
Yeah. I mean, certainly we are wanting to discourage owners from just buying up buildings and vacating them and letting them sit empty. In this case, it has been vacant since 2003, so many years. And again, we had various proposals come forward for this building. The reason why we're coming before you today with a recommendation is that we have been able to secure a housing benefit for a building that would otherwise continue to sit vacant.
So you just think that this is a good enough compromise, this housing benefit? How is the term of 5 years at citywide average rents reached at? Why is the 5?
Just through discussions with the owner. So just in terms of some of the upgrades she's doing to the building, the tenure as rental for life of the building, and the affordability that she was willing to enter into, that was what's being recommended today.
So I just, because I looked up, I found an old article where the owner of the property spoke about their desire to create affordable housing units for artists as recently as last year. So I was just wondering why the 5 years? Would 10 years be an acceptable sort of compromise or?
5 years, and just in terms of I think that is wanting to rent to artists is a continued goal of hers since we first have been in discussions with her. We can't really regulate who she rents to, but that is certainly something that she's hoping to do on the site.
Okay, so with that, I think I'd like to just make a simple amendment just to try for a bit more security on the site for 10 years instead.
Great, if we can go to the amendment queue, please. Actually, we have to move the motion first, don't we? Then second it. Okay, so Councilor Orr, were there any other questions to team members?
No, thanks.
Okay, so would someone like to move the motion? Councilor Joe, seconded by Councilor Dominato. Council, is there any discussion? So, Councilor Orr, Councilor Fry?
Comment to the extent that as council will know, I live quite close by, and this is one of many kind of older houses in the neighborhood that were converted into benevolent association, Chinese benevolent association kind of houses. There are many. Some got captured under the SRA bylaws, some did not. Many of them have been renovated and repurposed, and I think on the whole, this I appreciate that this has been sitting empty for a very long time. It's been variously a fire risk and a challenge to manage because it's been vacant as long as it has been. So I think moving forward to just deal with this house and expand it and create artist housing is a worthwhile endeavor, and certainly it's going to do much more than it's doing right now. And because it's not a purpose-built apartment building or a hotel like many of the traditional SRAs, I think that this is a reasonable compromise. So.
Great, thank you very much. Anyone else in the queue? Councillor Orr?
I guess, yeah, just to flag that I moved an amendment to it.
Okay, yep, so we'll move you to the amendment queue, please, and you can just add yourself to the queue.
Just to try and get a little longer security for this one unit. I appreciate that the difficulty around this is not a standard sort of SRO kind of conversion, and that the owner of the property has spoken wanting to do this, but yeah, just a simple sort of thing to try and get some extra security for people wanting to live in this housing, essentially.
Thank you very much. Councillor Montague. Oh, sorry, can we get a seconder for Councillor Orr's motion? Great, Councillor Maloney, thank you. Councillor Montague, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Just a question through you, Chair, to staff. How long have the negotiations with this current owner been going on for?
She purchased the property in 2015, and so we've been having conversations with her since then for many years.
10 years of negotiations of trying to create an empty building into something. One of the things that council does from time to time here is we tinker with work that staff's been doing over a very long period of time. And that tinkering is done based on a very short, it's done on the fly in some cases. So I'm not willing to have this building sit empty for another 20 years because we want to tinker with a negotiation that staff's done. So I won't be supporting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dominato.
Thanks, Mayor. Question through you to staff as well, because I may have missed the very beginning of the presentation, but could you give me a sense with this amendment? Is this achievable and attainable with the current owner? Is this something that they, are open to, that's already been discussed and they think is achievable?
They agreed to 5 years. The owner agreed to 5 years, so we would need to go back and have a conversation with the owner. It may prevent the project from proceeding.
Okay. That gives me a moment to pause, because I think to the point Councillor Montague is making is that you've undertaken many years of work to get to this stage, and it's been vacant and dilapidated and unusable and unlivable, is what I read largely from the report. So I think at this stage I'm not going to support the amendment because I really don't want to hold this up, and it sounds like you've already undertaken quite a bit of negotiation. So on the basis of that response, I won't be supporting the amendment. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Joe?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Councillor Maloney?
Yeah, I would like to ask a question through you to staff about what the process would be like if you were to go back. Would this report come back to a future meeting after you checked, so we could have certainty around whether that's possible for the project to go ahead with the extra 5 years?
It would reopen negotiations, so we would need to go back to her. Obviously, she's done her analysis and her comfort in proceeding with the project, and this was what was agreed to. So there may be a delay. She may decline, so the building would continue to sit vacant, which is why we're coming forward to you with this recommendation, which we've agreed with her in order to create much-needed rental housing.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing no one else in the queue, we will put Councillor Orr's amendment to a vote. Great, and the amendment fails with myself, Councillors Kirby Young, Dominato, Bly, Fry, Montague, Klassen, Meisner, Joe, and Maloney in opposition. Okay, so we will go back to the main queue. Councillor Orr, did you have any other comments?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm now going to call a vote on the main report. If we can go back to the voting panel. Great, and the report passes with Councillor Orr in opposition. That completes report number 3. Okay. So, thank you very much. Okay, and so now we are at referral reports. Referral report number 1, standardized apartment districts and city-initiated zoning changes to implement Broadway plan and Canby corridor plan. Now, before we begin this item, does anybody wish to declare a conflict of interest? Nope, seeing none. This item does not have a team member presentation. Councillor Orr, you held this item. You have up to 5 minutes to ask questions of our team members.
Yeah, thank you. Just noting, I know this has been sort of in the media, has picked this up, and talking about this. I know we can't, we're not talking about the merits of the actual referral report, but just, do you think that council had enough time to prepare for this, noting that once this does go to referral report, and I think maybe this is important to get on public record, that we can't talk about it to anybody else. We can't ask for expert opinion. We can't, it's closed off. There's a cone of silence. So just quick question, pretty simple. Do you think that it was enough time for us to go through all this? And really, because it's a really big report. It's 400 something pages, vast sweeping changes, to a lot of the bylaws, and and it's just, I try to get through all of it, but at the same time, I just not sure if there was enough time.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. So I think I'll answer that in 2 parts. First, we have an additional roughly 2 months between now and the public hearing for you to become acquainted with the materials. And yes, there are requirements about how you can go about preparing yourselves. In terms of the sweeping changes, I'll just note that for the Broadway plan sites, which are the vast majority of the sites, this is simply a moving from a rezoning process to a district schedule opportunity. And so the scale of the nature of the change is actually mostly through process, and is a way to streamline existing adopted council policy and to streamline the application process from a rezoning to straight to DP. And so in terms of the nature of the change, it's really focused on process versus content.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fry.
Yeah, I guess I do obviously have been hearing a lot of the comments and concerns, and I think this is the only time I've heard concerns coming from both sides of the spectrum. I see the Vancouver Sun article where Anne McMullen from the UDI is saying she's shocked and thought this report should be pulled or delayed until further consultation is conducted. Similarly, some citizen watch groups are saying that there should be more consultation. What was the degree of consultation? I see the report said there's 474 touch points of consultation. Do we feel it was robust enough? I think Michael Geller wrote us similar concerns around the depth of material here that hadn't been sort of vetted by industry or others.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So in terms of the engagement process, we mailed out over 30,000 postcards, as well as over 6,000 emails to the city listservs. And so it provided ample opportunity to alert people back in March. We sent out those mailers back in February for an online Q&A session where public could review the materials and then submit questions to staff. In addition, we've had 8 workshops with the design industry to vet the guidelines to make sure that both the urban design guidelines were feasible and viable and were of benefit to the industry. In addition, we've done extensive economic testing and design testing through paid consultants to ensure the financial viability of all the options on the table. That's in addition to all the design and economic testing the Broadway plan did for the very same policies leading up to its adoption in 2022. And then the design testing also made sure that the urban design intent would be achieved, as well as viable for applicants.
Right, and I see that there was some testing with Coriolis, but I'm again struck by some of the comments from the UDI, and I'm not the flag waver for UDI at the best of times, but the comments from the director of policy saying that this report risks severely undermining elements of this report could undermine the entire effort, and I just worry does this need more work potentially? Would there be any benefit to maybe referring this back to staff to work on it a bit further?
Again, the district schedules that will be in front of you in September reflect adopted council policy. So to the extent that a councillor feels that that adopted council policy needs to be revisited, then the answer would be the same. But as it's standing policy and we are processing applications using that policy today, staff, having done the additional testing, still feel confident that while we fully acknowledge that we are in a unique situation in the market where things are challenging beyond memory in recent times, but the policy and the approach that staff are recommending remain sound.
But should the comments at public hearing reflect that this really does need more work, then we would have to just go back to scratch at that point and have a new referral report, new public hearing, another 6 to 9 months.
So the district schedule work is really just taking the adopted Broadway plan policy and Canby plan policy and advancing it into a more streamlined, faster, more expeditious, more transparent process. It's not changing the underlying policy. And so probably I would recommend that it's not the district schedule's purpose or intent to revisit adopted council policy. This is really a way to speed and expedite the delivery of housing using existing policy. And so perhaps separating the two, the policy and the intent that has been reviewed and put forward and adopted by council from these procedural improvements, which are about the expediting the delivery of housing, and not conflating the two. The staff worked very, very hard to make sure that what is being brought forward in September does closely or identically align with what that adopted policy already allows. It wasn't a process to revisit or engage the public in what should that policy become in the future.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. I'm out of time.
Thank you very much. Okay. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Klassen, seconded by Councillor Joe. Is there any discussion? Seeing no one in the queue, we will put this to a vote as well. Okay, and so that passes with Councillor Fry abstaining and Councillor Orr in opposition. Thank you very much. Okay, and so now we are moving on to bylaws. We have 30 bylaws on the agenda for enactment. Thank you very much. Before we begin this agenda item, if anyone believes they have a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Does anybody have a conflict they want to declare? Seeing no one's hand up or no one in the queue, we are going to go to the list. Okay, so for bylaws 12, 13, 16 through 19, and 21 through 24, council members absent for these items at the public hearings need to have reviewed the proceedings, including the video clip, to be eligible to vote. Bylaw 12 was from the public hearing on July the 10th, 2025. Councillor Montague, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment? Thank you very much. 3, 6. Bylaw 13 was from the public hearing on July the 10th, 2025. Councillor Montague, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment? Thank you. Okay, bylaws 16, 17, 18, and 19 were from the public hearing on July the 8th, 2025. Councillor Bly, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment? Thank you. Councillor Meisner?
I have and I will.
Thank you very much. Bylaw 21 was from the public hearing on November the 12th and 14th, 2024. Councillor Kirby-Young, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment?
Yes, I have and I will.
Thank you. Bylaw 22 was from the public hearing on June the 13th and 18th, 2024. Councillor Maloney, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment? Thank you. Councillor Montague? Councillor Orr? And I have not, and I will not. Bylaw 23 was from the public hearing on November the 26th, 2024. Councillor Bly, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment?
I have and I will.
Thank you. Councillor Dominato? Councillor Maloney? Councillor Orr? We didn't get that. This is bylaw number 23. Yeah, we did 21 and 22. Pardon? On 21? Okay. I'm going to rewind back here. Let me get back to bylaw 21 in a second, and we'll just finish this one first. Okay, so Councillor Bly, you said that you have and you will. Thank you. Councillor Dominato? Great. Councillor Maloney? Thank you. Councillor Orr? And I have not, and I will not. So we're going to circle back now to bylaw number 21. You're in question for 21 and 22? 21, thank you. Okay, and then I didn't see this on the, who are we missing? Alone. Okay, so bylaw 21 was from the public hearing on November the 12th and 14th. Councillor Maloney, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment? Thank you. Councillor Orr? Thank you very much. Okay. We're now going to bylaw number 24. Bylaw 24 was from the public hearing on November the 12th and 14th, 2024, and was concluded as unfinished business at council on November the 26th, 2024. Councillor Bly, have you reviewed the proceedings and will you be voting on the enactment?
I have and I will.
Thank you. Councillor Dominato? Thank you. Councillor Fry? Thank you. Councillor Kirby-Young? Thanks. Councillor Maloney? Thank you. Councillor Orr? Thank you. Bylaw 11 is subject to the approval of bylaw 10, and bylaws 14 and 15 are subject to the approval of bylaw 13. Therefore, we will vote on bylaws 10 and 13 separately. Would someone like to move a motion to adopt bylaws 10 and 13? I think Councillor Kirby-Young was first. Oh, sorry. Councillor Bly, apologize. And then seconded by, I think, Councillor Klassen. Perfect. Thank you very much. Councillor, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Would someone like to move the motion to adopt bylaws 1 through 9, 11, 12, and 14 through 30? Sorry, Councillor Joe moved, seconded by Councillor Meisner. Everyone's so excited here. This is great. Council, is there any discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. The list of approved bylaws can be found on the city's website. Okay, notice of council member motions. Are there any, sir, are there notices of council member motions? Hold on a sec. Council member motions for upcoming standing committee meetings. This is a reminder to please state the title of the motion and state, and the date of the standing committee meeting on which you intend to move the motion, and be sure to send the title and date to the standing committee meeting via email to the city clerk. Okay, Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I have one notice of motion entitled Prioritizing the Completion and Delivery of Community Facilities and Infrastructure in the 2026 to 2030 Capital Plan, and I'm submitting this for the September 17th Standing Committee.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dominato.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two notices of motion for the September 17th, 2025 Standing Committee. The first one being accelerating the turf field upgrade at Beaconsfield Park for inclusion in the 2027-2030 capital plan. And the second being reopening Clark Drive, protecting East Vancouver's livability and port access.
Thank you very much. Councillor Maloney.
I have two notices of motion for the Standing Committee meeting on Wednesday, the 17th of September. The first one is just being moved by me. It's a motion entitled Beyond Arterials, Creating More Housing Options on Low Traffic Streets. And the second one is being moved by me and Councillor Orr, and it's a motion entitled Removing Obstacles Preventing Sustainable Food Systems in Vancouver.
Thank you very much. Councillor Klassen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to give notice of motion, creating connections, advancing a transformative active transportation pathway in South Vancouver, submitted by myself for the September 17th Standing Committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fry.
Yeah, two motions on notice for September 17th Standing Committee meeting. Number one is greening the city, enhancing livability and the tree canopy through healthy afforestation. And number two is protecting the Champlain Heights Forest Trail network for future generations and residents.
Thank you very much. And myself, I'd like to provide notice of motion for the standing committee meeting on Wednesday, the 17th, 2025, for a motion titled Strengthening Public Trust and Transparency Through Full Disclosure of Total Council Compensation. Councillor Orr.
Yeah, notice of motion for September 17th, standing committee, improving the empty homes tax to curb speculation.
Thank you very much. Okay. Seeing no one else in the queue, we're going to move on. Going on. Thank you. Inquiries and other matters. Council, are there any inquiries or other matters? Wait,
New business. Yeah, just.
Bear with me for 1 second. Thank you very much. Missing a page there. And it was me. Okay, so item 15, new business. We have one item of new business on the agenda today. This motion has been circulated to council at the beginning of the meeting and is available on the screen. Any leaves of absences that were received during the meeting are also included in the motion on the screen. So let's take a look here. In the meantime, would someone like to move the motion? Great, Councillor Claassen. Is there a seconder? Very much. With
Meisner.
Okay, council, is there any discussion? Sorry, I got to advance this a little bit here. Councillor Dominal, did you?
No, I'm on for.
Okay, and then I'm fine. Councillor Meisner?
I'm on for inquiries.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I announced that there. Okay, so why don't we just see a show of hands here? Is there any discussion? Anyone wants to bring anything up? Okay, so we're going to vote on it then. All those in favor say yay. Okay, all those opposed say nay. Great, the motion carries unanimously. Council, are there any other items of new business? Councillor Meisner. Okay, and Councillor Dominato, that's the same with you? Oh, new business? Okay, so Councillor Meisner, I'm just going to advance you. Councillor Dominato, new business?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I'm circulated a new business motion, an urgent motion with respect to my reappointment to the UBCM executive for the 2025-2026 year. And I had called notice on it and then just missed the deadline to submit it for the council agenda. And just the time-sensitive nature is that UBCM needs confirmation in advance of the September convention meeting. And so I'm putting that forward to council for your consideration, and we'll have updates for council of business that we just conducted at the board meeting this last week. But in the interim, I'm seeking council support for this reappointment for next year.
Happy to second that.
Great. Thank you very much. Council, is there any discussion? No? Okay, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Great, that carries. Thank you very much. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'm just hoping if you can advise me, I may have lost track, maybe through you to the clerks. There was a leave of absence recommendation. Have we dealt with that? I was just trying to find it and I can't find it. There was a leave of absence, new business. We did that one.
Yeah, we
Okay,
did
great.
that.
Just confirming. Thanks.
Okay. Do you need a copy of that?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. And that's all? Thank you. Okay, Councillor Meisner.
Hey, is this new business or inquiries?
New business.
Oh, we're still new business. Mine's an inquiry, another matter.
Okay, and so we're all good then? Everyone gets so excited jumping on the queue, it's just hard to... Okay, inquiries and other matters. Council.
Okay, we made it there. I'll be quick because I know we're hungry. Pride is coming up on BC Day long weekend, so I just want to remind everybody of that. There's also a flag raising here at City Hall next Monday at noon. We will also be presenting the Pride Week proclamation as we raise the flags next to the north parking lot here at City Hall. So that's a really great event, and I'd encourage people to come out for that. Again, that's on Monday at noon to 12:30, and the Pride Festival is going to be a little different this year. The parade route is going from Concord Pacific Place back to the West End. But the biggest change is probably the Davie Street Block Party that's coming back. So I'd encourage everybody to check that out on Davie Street on this Sunday, the BC Day long weekend. It's going to be an amazing celebration, and there's going to be lots of performances and things for you to enjoy. So please come out and support Vancouver Pride.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dominato.
Yes, and thanks for those updates, Councillor Meisner. That's great. Looking forward to some of those activities. I have two inquiries through you to staff, and hopefully we simply can get reports back. I don't expect report updates at council at this time, but it stems from two recent news stories. One coming out of Hamilton, Ontario, and again, this would be a report back from VPD, I'm hoping. There was recent stories about the mayor was commenting about concerns over hate, and specifically white nationalist, white supremacist groups using public spaces for training. And I'd be interested to hear if our police department has heard of or had any similar reports in Vancouver. And the reason it arose through the city was because they're taking place in public parks and near community spaces, and there's been concerns about intimidation. And so I'd be interested to hear if we've had similar reports. So that would be a question through you to Karen Lovett. If I could get a report back on that. Again, I would presume VPD would be the point of contact on that one.
Yes, we can do that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question and query is with respect to the recent findings of airborne fentanyl in our supportive housing homes in the city of Vancouver. There was a number of stories about this, as well as I understand the province is looking into it further, but I would like to get a better understanding about how prevalent this is in supportive housing across the city, what actions the province is taking, and so if we could also get a report back on that matter as well.
Absolutely, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. That's it.
Thank you very much. I'll just be really brief. Sad news today in the world of music. Ozzy Osbourne passed away. And as it relates, just an incredible person, incredible artist. The connection to Vancouver, or at least my connection, was I remember going to the Bark at the Moon tour in the Pacific Coliseum in 1984. It was absolutely awesome and left a mark on a lot of people. And anyways, just want to acknowledge that one of the greats who came to our city multiple times is sadly gone. So with that, can we have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Claassen, seconded by Councillor Dominato. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, this meeting is adjourned. And what I would suggest is, why don't we start in camera at 1:15? We'll give people to. Is that enough time for everyone? How about 1:20? 1:20? All right, 1:20. Great, thanks everyone.